What's going on, gang, and welcome back to another episode of Scared of Normal. I'm Mike Murphy, and today I'm joined by Matt Cordova and James Stokoe, and this episode is going to be all time. Today's guest has an infectious, positive energy and an incredible outlook on life. He's a creator and a curator. Mykel Larrin, welcome to the Scared of Normal podcast. We're stoked you're here.
Good. Yeah, stoked, man. Thanks for having me, man.
Dude, heck
kind
yeah.
words, man. Appreciate the intro.
This is going to be a treat. We just left lunch a little bit ago, and we had a good conversation there, and yeah, the vibes are always good when you're hanging around. So
likewise,
yeah,
man.
This is going to be super fun. Let's get started with why you're in town, dude.
Dude, stoked. Yeah. So Matt and I, we were talking maybe 2 months ago or something like that. We were kicking it. And just a video project with Mongoose. And it's pretty open. There's a lot that we have kind of conversed on. I think we've known each other for a long time. But started hanging out a lot more recently when Matt came down to OB. And it was dope because, BMX is just that thing that, you can just find anchors, with others on. And then we started dreaming a little bit more. We shot some photos, and him and I just were on the same page with a lot of stuff, and asked him if he was down to do a video project, and here we are.
Sick, man. Yeah, I'm stoked how it all kind of worked out. Matt's been out here for a little bit, and now you're out here, and you guys are going to make some magic. But yeah, before we get too far into the BMX thing, let's jump into young Mykel. Where'd you grow up, man?
Man, I was a little homie in Wisconsin, and it was funny. We coming in seeing the cheese head on the desk back there. It was cool. I grew up in Wisconsin, very humble beginnings. It was really cool just being able to hang out in that space. They built my local skate park 98, which is crazy. So we're coming up on 25 years next year. And so excited, man. Amazing kids. The easiest way to explain it would be imagine the movie Sandlot, if you guys saw that. Growing up, but with BMX bikes. Same exact plot, storyline, all that stuff. And we were just trying to figure out how to spend as much time doing that as we could. And everybody in the neighborhood was on the same page. And then, insert and take things out of like, okay, now it's basketball, or maybe it's, playing football in the street in the middle of winter, and like the snowbanks on the sides or the outline or,
Sidelines
and stuff. Yeah. So Wisconsin was cool, delivered a lot for me growing up. And, I don't know. Like, I'm grateful that I grew up the way I did, just because that's who I am today.
So you said that skate park was 98. You came in, and you were born in 87.
Yep.
So about 9 years old. Wait, no, I'm not good at math. 11 years old. Was it immediate? You saw the skate park. You wanted to be around that?
Yeah, dude, 100%. Man. So here's what's crazy. So growing up in Wisconsin, it was 2 doors down from where we lived. They tore this really old shop down. It was like a car shop, right? And they had old school cars in there. So I was already hooked with cars at that point. And they tore that spot down, and we were so bummed because we would see pretty cool stuff come through there. And then they closed the shop for a while. And we're like, man, we don't know what's going on. They're seeing it just dilapidate, deteriorate, fall apart. So they tore that spot down. Then it's just a dirt lot. And the city, for some reason, would just come dump dirt randomly. And it wouldn't be, there's no rocks in it, nothing, like great dirt, And we're like, all right, we're going to jump those, man. So my brother and I would just race down there and, try to shape a lip with a spade shovel, didn't know better. And that became the thing, So when we saw in the newspaper, it was a panoramic shot of the skate park. And at the time, that space was being used for soccer fields. They would do an annual like carnival thing that they would come down there, and you could like ride an elephant or what, like things like that, So we'd seen that. We're like, dude, we got to go check this out. We run into the kitchen, and we're talking to our mom. We're like, please, we got to, please, mom, and it just, I don't know, we'd seen it on TV, like action sports, X Games, all that stuff. And we were trying to build cinder block, plywood, garbage can jumps, you name it.
That's the way to do it. Yeah, for sure.
Stack the best way to come up
and jump as far or high you can. Yeah, that's the best.
Yep. So we, crush a soda can, and then, all right, cool, that's the mark. And if you get past that, you so that was like growing up. It was cool, man. So when we saw that skate park, that really ignited something. And 25 years, man, next year. So
that's crazy.
We're so stoked. 5 years, we were like tight. 10 years, man, can't believe that happened. 20 years, come on.
Yeah.
So the fact that it's 25 is insane.
Are you going to go back for a 25-year celebration session?
I can't wait.
That sounds really cool.
In alignment with that too, the guy 𝙎𝘾𝘼𝙍𝙀𝘿, literally Karate Kid, Mr. Miyagi mode. Like I was Karate Kid, he was Miyagi. And so he turns 50 next year, right? And he's been working on that place since the beginning.
I was going to ask if Kuko was the one that built that park originally. Was he?
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
So it was wild. So it was Kuko and Brian Val.
Wow. Okay.
Actually, so those two guys, along with some other people that were down, helped get it going. And Kuko's maintained it this entire time.
Whoa.
You know, Brian ended up moving away, and then he was back and doing his thing. But it was so rad. And imagine, you know, a young version of me. Brian's like 6'4", 6'5", giant, you know. And I'd already had a relationship with Kuko at that point. And I walk in, I'm like, yo, oh man, that's how you do that. I was like, can I help? And he's like, you know, super kind. He's like, yeah, get the plywood, I guess. I don't know, like if you're down. I'm like, sick.
Dang,
I'm building a skate park.
Crazy.
But I meet Brian for the first time, and I'd heard about him, and I'm like, dude, it's freaking Brian. Where's Brian? Wow, man, wow, you know. And just watching him ride and seeing the videos and everything, and just I was like, just stunned, you know. So a lot of rich, you know, culture in that.
Who were some of your inspirations like growing up at what skate park was that?
Racine skate park.
Oh,
yeah.
Who were some of the dudes that like you would show up to that like inspired you?
Man, there were so many. You know, it's crazy because Milwaukee also had a scene that's like maybe half hour north. And so through, man, the Twins, Sean Arata would always come through, Kevin Porter, Jamie Spritzer, Dave Frymouth, Brian Kaczynski, Brandon Harris, Dom Travato, Jeff Klugowitz.
The list just goes on, man.
Legend.
Like
Jeez.
so many people coming through that skate park, you know. And
That's like BMX royalty right there.
you know, what's wild about it too is like all these dudes, everybody on that list. I mean, and I'll keep going with a few more where it's like Scott Draper or even guys my age like JJ Flaherty. You know, like meeting some of these dudes growing up, it was cool because everybody was just down to earth, and there was no like hierarchy of like. There was no BS with it. Everybody's just like, cool, we're riding bikes. That's what made it so pure.
I love that.
So all those guys were influences on, you know, my vantage point with riding. 100%.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Did when you were younger, did you have more of the I want to go fast, learn big tricks? Did you flatland, street, park? What did you like to ride more growing up that shaped you into who you are now?
Yeah, I think a mix of everything. So so we had those dirt jumps. That lot's still down the street from our house.
Is it still vacant?
Still vacant.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's grass now. Like those jumps have grown over. But we always push our nephews like, go ride those things, man. It's great, you know. But
that's cool.
But yeah, we'd hit those dirt jumps. So we'd leave the house, and usually, you know, rip down the driveway or bunny hop into the grass bank that was in front of our house. Hit the dirt jumps a couple times and then ride street on the way. That was like, we had to ride through downtown Racine and then get to the skate park, rip that for however long, usually most of the day, and then ride street on the way back, hit the dirt jumps before we came back to the house. It was always like everything on the way out, everything on the way in. Ooh. And so, but I was lack of style. I just wanted to go big. You know, I remember seeing stuff from like Sean Butler or Ronnie Chalk back in the day, and that was like a huge influence. I'm like, man, you can do a Superman seat grab and grab the top two of a frame. Like what?
Make anything your own, your style,
freestyle,
your flavor.
Man.
Yeah. So those were like, man, you could really do that. And I didn't learn, man, Rich Holmes is like a very dear friend of mine. And him and I were playing a game of bike at the skate park and we did teams. And I remember one of the guys did a foo-foo-noo. And I'm goofy footed, right? So like I tried tech tricks, but they were always way more difficult because of my foot position. And one guy does a foo-foo-noo and he starts laughing. He's like, good luck, Mykel. And I just start busting up laughing. Rich is like, man, you got to try it, bro. And so that became my tech journey. And so with Rich, he really, you know, paved the way with, he always knew how to break it down. Same with Kuko and my brother too. That's another thing. My brother like shreds, you know, and growing up, it was the same with you and Joey, right? Yeah. So I would always ask my brother and I'd be like, Dryan, man, how do you jump that? He's like, just do it, man. Like very basic. Now looking back, I appreciate his very subtle, direct direction on that because literally that's what I do now. But I'm like calculated with stuff, but you have to have that switch turned off and just go for it.
Yeah, just send it. Is your brother older than you or younger?
Yeah, 2 years older.
Cool.
Yeah, I was a shadow man forever.
That's so cool.
Forever, dude. Yeah. And just he was always kind and patient, and when he wasn't, it was still cool. It was just like you know, I would get, you know, You need your space.
Yeah.
And so with riding and all that stuff, it was like, dude, I'm just trying to feed off of anything. And because he was always riding the bike too, I was like, teach me, you know,
That's so cool.
let's figure this
How
out.
did your brother get into riding bikes?
But both of us through our mom, which is crazy. Yeah.
Wow.
So she skated growing up, and then so I learned penny boards. That was it.
No kidding.
Mm-hmm. So I was like, this is cool. Okay. And then it was like a radio flyer tricycle type thing. We're taking that off curbs. I'm like, okay, sick. They didn't make Striders, you know, so it was like straight to the big bikes. And yeah, that was it, man. Like 3. I'm trying to keep up with my brother who's 5. And it was like, all right, cool. We're going off a curb. Training wheels. That was the funny part.
Yeah.
I remember because they're like the soft aluminum, you know? And so I'm sitting there rocking back and forth, and I would see my brother get spit off the bike trying to take corners, like MotoGP lean kind of thing. I was like, man, that's sick, dude. How do you do that? He's like, I don't just do it. And I'm like, okay. And then I remember I kept getting spit off. I'm like, man, why can't I? Oh, my training wheels are stopping me from doing that. And so I remember leaning, and there was maybe an inch gap on one side from like dropping it. And I was like, oh, okay, man, I wonder if I can. And then I feel them start bending. Yeah, 100%, dude. And that took over. I'm like, man, I can lean. So we came back that day. We were just like a block down at our friend's house, and my mom was upset. She's like, what'd you do? I was like, no, you just check it out. And I was in the driveway, and I showed her. She's like, okay, those are coming off.
That's cool.
You don't need those anymore.
Yeah.
Get the nucks from mom, and she
100%.
sends you on your way.
Yeah, man. So she was always, you know, very thought forward on certain things, and wasn't scared to let us just be boys.
That's
That's
super
awesome.
cool. I don't think I've heard too many stories of people getting into BMX through their moms. It's usually through the pops. So
Yeah.
that's
She's
cool,
great,
man. That's super rad.
Yeah.
I love that lineage. At what point did you discover that you had a passion for BMX when you were young? Was it when you first saw like X Games on TV, or was it that skate park? Or
I think when I was shoveling snow to ride,
okay,
that's when I knew.
Oh, wow.
Because it was like 4 feet on the ground, and I'm trying to shovel the driveway just to ride in a circle, you know? Or especially when they built the skate park, we would plot to go down there. Everybody meet up at such and such time, and we'd go down there with shovels and just like one strip. That's it. Or everybody shovel the mini ramp off, and then you bring 2 pair of shoes, get your stuff out, got dry shoes, drop in, just do your thing, you know? That's when it became, all right, man, this is something that I'm learning, challenging myself, getting to a space to where I could scare myself within reason and know that I'm be a different person on the other side of it, like a better person, regardless if I landed it or not, you know, or even trying to gap. It's not even a trick all the time, right? To try that foo-foo-noo in the game of bike, or
that's so cool.
to jump that gap or whatever, it gets more advanced. But that simple, man.
I love that, dude. That is such a simple way to be like, oh, I'm passionate about this, because nobody likes to shovel snow just in general. So
Yeah,
like
right.
to do it, to go do something that you love, like, yeah, that's pretty black and white right there, which is sick.
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome.
I was just gonna ask where it started going from there. Like, you're shoveling the snow down at the skate park, and obviously you love it. I'm much like everybody around this table. We didn't like set out to ride bikes or take pictures or anything to try and like make it a career. It's just something that made us really happy. Like, at what point with the pros coming through the skate park, is that something that opened your eyes to what the future could possibly hold, or was that just something wasn't even on your radar?
Yeah, I think it was super influential. I remember one specific moment. Koji Kraft comes to the skate park. Koji's that young dude that's just on top of his game, and this is like Yoo-hoo days, you know? And I hear inklings that Koji's thinking about doing a flip. I've never seen one in person. Seen it on TV, never in person. And I go over to him, super kind, and just, you know, and I'm that young kid that's like, oh snap, yo, how do you? What?
Yeah.
Just, I got so many questions, and I'm not scared to ask, you know. So I'm like that mosquito in your ear, and I just ask him. He's like, oh, I'm thinking about it, but we'll see. I'll just feel it out. I'm like, all right, cool. And he has remnants of like the Frymouth and Spritzer style, you know. So I'm watching him do all the front brake tricks. I'm like, dog, I got to get front brakes. You know, I got like the spring loaded, you know, just U-brake in the front. So stuff like that. And I was just like, okay. And then I see him do it for the first time. And I'm sat next to Kuko. And I was like, I think he's going to flip, man. And Kuko said, I think he is. And he's up there and he's getting ready. And Koji has like a distinct thing now that I've, you know, worked with him so much over the years. He does like this preload bar spin thing before he drops in. And he does that, and that was the beginning right there. And I saw him leave the lip, very smooth, didn't case, nothing, perfect backflip. And back then it was, I forget, he was on a Schwinn, forget which one, but those bikes are like 48 spoke, triple wall rims, 14 mil axles, like bulletproof. And the way he's like flipped that thing around without even wincing at it, like so easy. I was like, I got to figure that out. So it's a journey, man. And I think that, I think to take it to that next level, that was always something that Kuko encouraged. He's like, you take this as far as you want, man. You know, like, what do you want to get out of it? You know? So
cool.
Definitely
was, Oh no, I love that. That's rad.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mike. What were you gonna say?
I love that. That's like kind of what lit that fire to like move forward with it too. Like that's cool. Like, and I'm sure seeing all that like really BMX royalty rolling through the park of these guys that are doing that for a living is probably even more inspiring, right? To like be like, this can take me as far as I wanted to go, like Kuko's telling you. So
so humbling.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah.
Was he somebody that helped you? Like, you're such an intentional dude, just from like all the stuff you post on Instagram to the way you curate Instagram to the way you dress and ride your bike and all those things. Was he somebody that helped you a lot with that, kind of hearing him say like, you can take this as far as you want it to go?
Yeah, no, for sure. Kuko was one, and I've done a ton with him over the years with work. Like, him and I worked alongside. He has a lawn care company and a snow removal company. And so I worked with him on both those for years. And it was crazy because there's a certain level of quality that you have to deliver to the client. And you have to be particular. You have to be intentional with your schedule, how you're running this. And I mean, that dude has over 75 clients.
Wow.
And it's just him.
No way.
And he rocks it, dude. Like, it's so impressive. And his work ethic is something that anybody that knows Kuko will speak on. You know, like, he works so hard, and he'll always work harder for his client than they'll work for him, you know? So, so he kind of drove that home anytime that we were on the job anywhere. And again, Wisconsin has like pretty harsh winters. So once the summer, fall season's over, and spring's cool too, but it's like, there's so much going on. And, I spent, man, that'd be kind of cool to clock two things. How much time him and I have spent over the years, whether it be like road tripping to a skate park or working on the job, but more so like, how much time at the skate park. Like, if we can clock the amount of hours that any of us have spent at the skate park on our bike,
dude.
Oh, geez.
I would be so curious.
Yeah.
Just to see.
Yeah. I think about that. So I turned 30 earlier this year, and the park that I grew up riding like opened when I was like 15. And I had that same thought. I was like, dude, I've been doing this at this exact skate park for half my life. And I thought the same thing. I was like, I wish I knew how many hours actually have been spent there.
Pretty trippy.
Yeah. And then Matt being back in town, because we grew up there together. So like, it's just so weird sitting back there on the deck together and being like, whoa, dude, like, we've been doing this for 15 years.
Bro.
Like, that's cool.
It's amazing.
Dude, that's the beauty of BMX, right?
Yeah. Or just sitting behind bars.
Yeah.
Like, your handlebars, like, how long have you, like, the seconds, how long were you been doing, like, the holding behind the handlebar, sitting on a seat, like, I would love to know that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I put a new battery in my van pretty recently.
Yeah.
And like, I know that sounds dumb,
No,
but
no.
it erased all my memory on my van. So like, it took how long I've been driving it for. So it wiped all that data.
Yeah.
And I was like, dang it. I was so bummed because I was like, I wanted to track how long I wanted to know that number. So then like, if I ever got rid of my van, I could have like, I drove my van, because I erased it whenever I got my van. So I was like, I had that number, right? So I was like, I wanted to have that number for myself, just knowing how I drove my van for this long.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool. I mean, obviously you can't do it with BMX, but it'd be crazy to know.
It would be cool to know.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
I go back to like 𝙎𝘾𝘼𝙍𝙀𝘿. There's something he always tells me, and like, he grew up, and when he's for anybody that doesn't know, arguably one of the world's best mountain bikers, one of the most stylish mountain bikers out there. And I was out at his house not long ago, and he took me to his childhood skate park. And he's like, yeah, I used to put my seat up, ride my bike all the way down here before school. I'd get a couple hours in before school, go to school, come back, ride back from school, straight to the skate park, ride at the skate park. So he's like, I got my 10,000 hours before I was 10 kind of
That's
vibe,
awesome.
So I think that's the same thing with you guys, is it's just like, if there was any way of, because we got that 10,000 hours to master a craft or whatever the saying is. But yeah, the idea of how many hours you spend behind a set of handlebars, you know?
Yeah. And still going up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Still clocking the hours, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So we're talking about, you know, kind of finding that passion and where that came from. At what point were you like starting to ride contests or figuring out that like, okay, this is going to be like a career for me?
First contest was at Racine Skate Park.
Okay.
Super dope. They posted something in the city, Lake FX Extreme Games, and I didn't know. At that point, X Games was already happening. We're super pumped. The skate park design was modeled like similar to some of the earlier X Games setups.
Was it sorry to interrupt. Was it a concrete skate park?
No, all good. Yeah, wood, outdoor.
Outdoor wood in Wisconsin.
Bro, amazing.
That was probably like the mid BMX, the box jump, spine, nice
mini ramp
somewhere.
Yeah.
That was like
Subs.
quintessential.
I've never
BMX.
seen it.
Yeah.
I've never seen it, but I'm just picturing Greenville, North Carolina, like Pro Town Skate Park.
On
like,
crack.
Okay.
Bro.
Wow.
Like,
I'm going to have to get a picture and put it in this video.
Dude, it's so cool because it's like you could throw a rock from the skate park into Lake Michigan.
No way.
It's that close to the water. It's surrounded by trees. And back in the day, it was like, it's fenced in. The city would come down, lock it up every night. And it's transformed into this amazing thing now. And just, we can actually put a ramp there and this. And again, me walking down, I remember trying to plot to get my mom to buy like a CCS magazine because they had blueprints that you could purchase in that. And I'd hear about it. I'm like, Mom, we gotta figure this out. Legit trying to build a quarter pipe at home with like scrap wood. And she's like, just be careful. She was the one, her and my grandpa was like, all right, this is how you use a drill. And this is a drill bit. And this is a Phillips and da-da-da. And so she's like, sure. Yeah, go figure it out. Ain't no YouTube yet. Internet's just coming out at the time. And so when I saw those blueprints, I was like, we need those. So when they built the skate park and I walk in and I see Kuko cutting a transition with a skill saw, I'm like, I did not know you can cut an arc with a skill saw, bro. And that's why I was freaking out. I'm like, that's how you do it. I didn't know there was ribs. They never had skate parks, right? So I'm just like, this is crazy.
You're watching a master at work, man.
That's it, man. Yeah. So that skate park was huge, man. And just seeing it and just the intention behind it was just so cool. So, yeah, Lake FX Games. I think that was like 2001.
Wow.
Or something like that. So it'd already been there for a few years. And so when I go back to people like JJ Flaherty, that I met him at one of those. And I was the first person I ever seen do a flare in person. And we're the same age. I'm like, bet, okay, this is all possible, man. This is crazy. Where'd you learn that, dude? And just, and it was just so cool because everybody, I still, talk to him to this day. And so competing and making something more of it, I think it was just like exploring it. And again, Kuko being like, dude, if you want to make videos, cool. If you want to ride contests, cool. Like, just make sure you're having fun.
Dude, that's the main thing. Always having fun. We come back to that on every podcast. It's like, if you have that, and kind of going back to something I asked you earlier with regards to you doing it for the fun. You're not doing it because you like see these guys and you're like, oh, I want to be rich and famous BMXer or something like that. You just got to first and foremost do it for fun. So how did you do in that first contest?
I ended up winning that one.
What?
No way.
Yeah, that was crazy, man.
Yeah.
That was crazy. Yeah. And then I think over the years, like that contest was always great. There was guys like Duncan that worked through the city that really just facilitated it. Hey, we're having a good time out here. Don't take it too serious. Like, we're all out here for the same reason, and that was big. And then it was like local contests in Oak Creek. They did like a LSMF contest, like sports music festival type thing. And then that transitioned into Four Seasons Skate Park in Milwaukee, doing some contests. Okay, cool. Now we're cooking, doing some more. And then some bigger stuff starts coming through town. They had like the Recon would come through, even before that, props, when props started coming through.
Wow.
We were like, yo, this is crazy. Then that's like the gauntlet of dudes, man, that are together that can throw down. Rock and Roll Tour. Some of the other props, like, it was just so cool to see that in person. And finally, I'm like, dude, that's Chris Doyle.
Yeah.
It's Morgan Wade. I'm like, dude.
Goes from the VHS tape to seeing that in real life, like, especially in the age of not having Instagram. Like, I'm sure, like, as a kid, that's the most mind-blowing thing in the world.
Insane.
Life-changing, really.
And they're right there in front of you, and I never took it for granted. Like, I understood, like, when I met Brian Val or seeing like Frymouth or these guys, like, how gnarly it was to be like on the deck with those guys. And then I watched them drop in and just do their thing. Go ahead.
Oh, I know. I was going to ask, would you study like their riding? So you stood on the deck with them and then like study how they did a flare or whatever it was and start trying to pick it apart in your head and learn that trick through watching those guys?
Totally. Yeah. I'm still to this day an observational learner. But I was the mosquito in Koji's ear, or Scott Draper, same thing. I'm like, yo, can I try your bike? And at the time, so it's just standard bikes back then was like the thing. That was the Rolls Royce of bikes. And I remember Scott just got a new one, and I'm all stoked. I'm like, man, I'll never be able to afford one, bro, but can I just take it for a lap, please? He's just like, man, all right, super nice guy. And it was just cool, man, because I felt the difference, and at the time we just slapped something together with what we had. That was it. And it's just like, okay, I got a quill stem. I got like straight lace wheel in the front and then regular lace in the back or whatever. It's like, it's just really cool. And I would always have hand-me-down stuff from my brother,
That's cool.
So yeah, I think taking it to that next level is just seeing it. And then every single guy that I've mentioned so far has always been super kind, and there's no lack of information that they always had something to talk about, be like, oh, this is how you do it, or just to give the roadmap, to do something. So pretty cool.
I love, this was a question that I had that was going to come a little later, but I think it's appropriate now as you talk about sitting on the deck with all these legendary people in BMX and how much you never took that for granted. Where do you think that mindset came from? Was that passed down through family, or was that something that just came naturally to you? Like,
yeah,
I think that's a really cool, like, characteristic in a person. So.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, it's a good question. My grandpa.
Okay.
That's the first thing that comes to my mind. So he was a musician, and he just guitar, piano, you name it. And it was always amazing because he would never announce it. And all of a sudden you hear like a steel guitar in the back of the house playing, or a lap guitar or piano. And I always thought that was so cool. And it would be a treat. And if it was like every day, I think normal people, you'd be like, oh, okay, cool, Grandpa's playing again. It's like a normal thing. But because it was so rare and unannounced, it was like, oh, everybody gather around. And we would legit just sit in the middle of the room, and he would just do his thing. And we'd converse a little bit, but it was more so of like, just appreciate this moment, man. And just you're in the space of like something that he's crafted since he was a young teenager, and he's still doing it to this day. And my mom still has, like, my grandpa passed when I was in middle school, but he like took very, great care of all of his instruments, and she still has them. So if I go home, I can play my grandpa's guitar.
Oh man!
And it's like, it's gnarly.
You can just feel it still, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Is your grandpa the one who gave you your music influence,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where you got all that from?
Yeah.
Like
We lived with him for 5 years.
Wow, cool. So did he teach you the instruments, or did you pick it up on? Okay.
Yeah, it was like the first song was "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star."
Oh, absolutely.
Guitar?
Yeah, on a guitar, yeah.
Cool.
And it was like this little Bundy guitar, and it was super dope, man. And she still has that at the house, and I just wanted to be like Gramps,
That's cool.
And so, wow, yeah, even, I don't know, like, he has a Guild Starfire 3, like, when they first came out, and it's, like, probably one of the most iconic guitars, in my opinion, but the back body of the guitar is worn out from his belt buckle.
Dang.
There's things like that, you know, so much, like,
Character.
yeah, so that, just taught me to appreciate the moment of now, and because those things, like, you're in the presence of something that's special, just stop for a moment. And thankfully, like, there was no distractions with cell phones and all that stuff back then, so I could just be fully immersed. So now, like, same thing, it's just a habit.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to be a little more intentional with the time now, but like, at least you have that like sentiment now to bring into, your experiences. That's so cool, man.
Yeah, man. Grateful for it, dude.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, dude. That's super cool. So let's switch gears from BMX a little bit and talk about music. Like,
yeah, music's dope.
You're super into the music game, I've heard.
I love it.
What's your favorite instrument to play?
I think drums, like, by nature. Like, that was always, and my mom, she was so cool because we had, like, in Wisconsin, you have basements. That's one thing about California. I'm like, wish we had more basements. But the basement was a music room, and my brother played guitar, trombone. I messed around with piano a little bit, and then I was serious about violin and drums through school. That was great. But drums, dude, there was something about it. Just something about the body movement. It was a workout. I would go through radio station in the basement during the winter in Wisconsin and just go from station to station and just play along. And my grandpa was like, that'll work. But it was funny. It started with him. So it was like guitar. And then I started joking around. I was like, oh, I want to play drums. He's like, that's pretty expensive. Like, we got guitars here already. Like, oh, okay, cool. But then my brother's in the guitar, and I'm like, what if we start a band, bro? It'd be like, Jackson 5 or something, And so we're dying laughing, and he was like, all right, look, I'll figure something out. And so he bought me this little electronic drum pad. There was 4 pads on it, and you had all these different settings. It says, show me that you can play on that. We'll get you a drum set.
No
And he had talked
kidding.
with my mom. Yeah, dude. And I played that thing so much, I actually wore the rubber down to the metal.
Yeah.
No way.
And he was like, okay. And
Now
then
it's
that following
time.
spring, bro,
Yeah.
that was, man, I was over the moon. And we still got that same. My mom is very good with keeping stuff, like the things that matter. So I got those drum sets.
That's cool.
It's so dope, man. So I'm very grateful that he was that patient and just kind to us in that way. So music's amazing.
So what do you do mainly with your music now? Is it like, just tell us about music now to you.
Yeah, I mean, Matt and I we have great conversations about this. The discovery of new bands, the purpose of being able to say something, even if there's no lyrics in a song, it says something. What BPM is it at? What type of key is it in? Like, there's so much stuff that goes into it, and it's the same with writing, which is cool. And so with music, I literally feel like there's a universal language that could be spoken. I don't care if I can get down to bossa nova music. I don't even need to know the language. We were in Russia, like 3 years ago, whatever it was. I didn't know a lick of what some of the words were being said, but it was dope, So it's like, then you can go research. Oh, that's what that song's saying. Okay, cool. But there's a rhythm to it.
You feel the energy coming off the music.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
So music's everything, bro.
Yeah, I've been like totally getting down with some Hispanic bands and stuff, and it's just something about it. Like, I don't understand a lick of it, right? But yeah, there's just something about it. And there's an Italian one I'll show you after this.
Sweet.
And it just got me into it. And then I found that he did a remix with Tina Turner, and I was just like, my mind's bottled. I was just like, oh, so.
Yeah.
But and you still play now?
Yep.
Yeah.
I love it, man.
Yeah. Are you playing in bands? Are you just doing stuff at home on the computer? What are you doing?
Right now it's been computer, which is fun. So technology has given the hand to just be able to sit at home. And I love, acoustic playing is great. But to have the computer now, it's crazy because I could legit go on there, and I love making music. Before social media stuff had like the reels to where you could choose music from that, you would get flagged all the time because it wasn't your music. They would copyright
You
it.
get that copyright strike.
Yeah, and I'm like, man, I'm just trying to, infuse a beat, bro.
Trying to have a vibe, man.
Yeah, like I ain't trying to do anything crazy. So that sparked something for me, and I was injured at the time. And so that was like a 5 or 6 month injury. So I started making music again, but it was all only on the computer. I didn't have too much movement anyways. So I'm like, get on here and do this, and I found a little MIDI board, and that was it. And I made most of the music for my content instead of worrying about it getting flagged.
No way. I did not know that.
Yeah, super fun.
That's badass, dude.
So I don't know, man. I appreciate the process and just the form of expression in it, you know, and just, I don't know. Again, like my grandpa was doing back in the day. It's like, I got all my digits, like I want to use them, or my creativity, and I want to use that and not let it go to waste, because you can start playing at any point, but to enjoy it, I could play something back. And just, I don't know, it's like, it's therapy. It's therapeutic, like for some, listen to somebody else's music too.
Yeah. And then, so outside of the reels, do you put your music out there anywhere else? Have you got it on SoundCloud or anything like that?
No platforms yet.
No? Do you want to, or is that something that's sacred to you and you kind of want to, it's for you and it?
A mix of, like, I wouldn't mind if people get down to it, cool. That's cool. The amount of stuff that's in my library is funny, because I'll have like some off the wall idea. I'm like, oh, okay, that works. Cool. And it's funny too, because even, my wife, she'll be like, oh, are you working on music? I'm like, yeah. And then she'll listen to it like, oh, okay, cool. And she's like, dang, that hits right now. That's cool. So
That's cool.
It's just funny, man. Some stuff I'll just be stoked to, and I'll just make it legit for making coffee in the morning. That's it. Simple.
So something, sorry, I'm completely taking over. So you guys tell me to shut up. Go for it. But something that I found today. I was looking back through some old servers, like trying to find a picture of a young lady that unfortunately had a traumatic brain injury, and they've got the GoFundMe going on the interweb right now and stuff. And I wanted to find one of my pictures of her that I took when it had been like 5 years ago. So it was going back. But then going through that process, because I didn't know specifically where any of them were, I was like looking at it, and then I was like, oh man, I totally remember this style of how I edited it because of where my mind was at. And so then, like, you can just see, like, through your timeline, through my pictures, through my editing styles or whatnot, where my brain was at. And then recently I've been in my van a bunch, and so I've just been putting my my downloads on just play through. And then so you're going through and you're like, oh, I remember these ones because they're super recent. This is my mindset, right? And then you go through and it's like MGK and you're like, oh, I remember that one. I was heading my hands about something or other. Then it was Celine Dion, and then it was back like times when like my dad passed away and stuff, and songs that reminded me of him and that kind of stuff. Is that something, do you ever go back through your music?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I remember that because of this, and this.
Yeah,
right?
there's anchors to it, right?
Yeah, anchors.
Yeah, 100%, man. And that's what makes it fun, because it could be a video part or a bike, even a bike. You look at that frame, like, dude, the stuff that got done on that thing, you know, I try to save a decent amount, you know, or it might be something small like a stem or whatever. But if it's a guitar, sometimes I'll save strings.
That's cool.
You know, and I'll just wrap them up because I'll have like an art project I want to do later on or what, or something, you know.
Yeah.
But it's things like that, man. It's like there's anchors, which is amazing. We were talking about this before, the cup of coffee you had the other day.
Yep.
Simple as that.
Tell us about that. Oh, do you want to talk about that?
Which cup?
You said the other day you guys.
Oh, Dark Heart.
Yeah.
Just, it's crazy whenever something sticks out to you and you can like, I had an oat milk latte and it wasn't even like it, just something that isn't,
It
that's,
just hit.
it hits so hard that you're like, wow, I can't remember the last time I had something that tasted that good, or it could go back to a song. You're like, I can't remember, you know, that song brings me back to a memory however many years ago, and that memory was super cool. It's like, it's cool that something little subjective that can bring a memory back.
Just like a place in time.
Yeah.
Right?
Like that can go down all the way down to a scent, you know, like I can smell two-stroke from a dirt bike. I'm like, oh, that reminds me of my dad when I was like 6. It's like, it's crazy those little things that can bring your memory back. That's rad.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, now that we're talking about...
Oh, dude, you're already there.
Yeah, I want to let James take it. Now that we're talking about social media and music, we talked about this at lunch. This is the most important question of the podcast.
Yeah,
So-
this is it. So we lined ourselves up for it. So you're about 34 years old, so you definitely were around the time of MySpace and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
This is the only reason that I'm on this podcast, is to ask this question each time, and as soon as I ask it, I just leave. But so MySpace. Did you have a MySpace?
I did.
All right, cool. And then did you see the benefits? Because we talked at lunch today, and anybody that knows me knows my kind of constant battle with Instagram. And it's 100% me being lazy with it, but I blame it on Instagram. So you were telling me how you saw once you got into the Instagram, you definitely saw the benefits of it. Mm-hmm. You saw how you could hashtag Japan BMX, and the next thing you know, you're out there, right? So with MySpace, did you see the potential of what social media through a platform such as MySpace or Facebook could be?
The inklings of it. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, because it was remnants of like AOL type chat space things, you know, and you see similar content on somebody's profile, like, oh, they're into this, and you could put music up there, and this is their like circle of friends or whatever, because you could do like the
top eight.
There you go.
Dude.
Yeah.
The most controversial thing on the internet.
Dude, yeah. Take somebody off. You're like,
Dude.
oh, we were friends.
Yo.
Yeah.
On your top 8, I thought we were homies.
So yeah,
top 16 after that. They made it. They had.
Oh, did they?
I think there was up to top 32 at one, like when it was going out, like they were trying to make it a little more inclusive. Like, think about the top 8 in the world we live in today. That would not fly.
No.
Dude, just
Not
think
fly.
about the brackets. They take up to 32, and then you just can bracket down to 8,
Dude.
and then to 4, and then to 2.
Yeah.
So with the MySpace thing, do you remember what your song was on your MySpace page?
I forget the song, but the artist was Craig David.
Okay.
Get out.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
I
I'm trying
forget
to
what
think
song
of
it
his
was.
big. But it was probably his like big hit. What was that? Yeah, I'll get to forget. At the end,
I forget.
we can look it up on
Yeah.
iTunes. But yeah,
Craig David, man, he kills it.
That's sick.
Yeah.
Back in the day, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, MySpace was a trip. You know?
So if you had a MySpace today, what would your current song be? What's your go-to right now?
Man,
I feel like that's even more of a
that's a
difficult
great question. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I would imagine that there'd at least be like some type of rotation.
Okay.
You could switch it up.
Yeah. Like
So-
a player going on.
Yeah. So if I'll say, I'll put it between 3 because I don't think there's one in particular.
Fair.
Matt introduced me to this band, Budo Span.
Oh, yeah.
They got a lot of good licks. And then John Coltrane. And then I think the third would probably just be Oh man, there's so many. Third one. Let's see.
It's so hard.
Probably it is something from the '90s, man. Probably
Okay.
be some Ludacris or something.
Ooh,
Like-
there we go.
Okay, there you go.
or sorry, early 2000s Ludacris.
Yeah, all over the board here. I like that, dude.
But that's
Heck yeah.
that's my head. Like
Yeah.
I'm always one morning it's this, the next morning and that. And that's why my wife, she always is like, "Oh, okay, we're listening to that now." It's
I
like
love that.
that's where I'm at. Like it's this. I love music that widely.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I like when it's appreciated that way, because like when I talk to people, I'm like, what kind of music do you listen to? They only listen to like one genre. You're just like, oh man, like not that sounds boring, but there's just so much out there. Like how do you get stuck in this one like niche of it? But
Well, yeah, and it's like every day our moods are different or something. And at least for me, getting down to the office, I'll put on some like low tempo EDM or something like that. I don't know if that's a oxymoron right there, but yeah, like EDM and stuff and remixes and whatnot. And it's just like, get me going, get me kind of going up. And then by the end of the day, I want some super chill beats and whatever.
Yeah.
So it's just
curating the music to the vibe.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like,
yeah.
and I like you talking about how many different types of, genres of music you like to enjoy, because I think that kind of mirrors the way you ride a bike as well. Like,
Appreciate that.
like the way you ride a bike is so fascinating to me. Like every time I like talk about you to somebody, I'm like, dude, you're an anomaly, because you can like ride a freaking vert ramp, and then you can drop in on mega ramp, and then you can go ride OB, which is like the tiniest little skate park. So I think that's like really cool to like see those like comparisons between music and bikes and instruments, because you're multiverse there too. So
I appreciate it, bro.
yeah, that's freaking rad. Well, let's kind of jump back to the BMX thing. Did you like it after you like graduated high school? Is that when you're like, I'm gonna make this a career? Or, like when
Full
did
on.
that like okay
Yeah, I jumped. Well, in college
okay
was the big jump.
okay
The plunge.
So what did you go to college for, and did you complete college?
Did not. I dropped out,
Okay,
and it was the best decision I ever made.
I love that.
I studied architecture. I was on the cusp of AutoCAD taking over, and so I learned hand drafting. I had Mr. 𝙎𝘾𝘼 and Mr. Ingram, both amazing teachers, and so the drafting was burnishing plates and pencil weights and all this different stuff, and I fell in love with it, But it was the artistry of all that stuff that made it interesting. I get to college, way in over my head, and it was just crazy, because I would turn in projects and Professor Keen and be like, hey man, these are great, but we need it on the computer, man. Like the engineers are going to use that too. I'm like, oh. I was like, well, what is it? He's like, you ain't AutoCAD? I'm like, yeah, I've heard of it. Like I've seen it.
Yeah.
Maybe, dabbled a little bit, but he's like, that's all we're accepting. I'm like, crap. So they partnered us with his name was Mike also. He was going for his master's. And so so it was like a, what do you call that? Like mentorship program type thing, And Mike took me under his wing, and it's super helpful, but I'm trying to battle, using BMX like full time. Can I make this thing? And I'm learning so much there. And it was 2 years, man. I was halfway through, and I just did not love it. It's like all I want to do is use a drafting table. And they used to joke around like, hey, you'll be lucky if you can find one of those or even purchase one in the next like 10 years.
Yeah.
They weren't joking.
No.
Because now it's like a vestibule.
Yeah, I'm
like,
trying to think like the last time I've seen a drafting like it's funny. So the coffee company I ran before Traction, my desk at that company was a drafting table.
Oh, no way.
And everybody would always make fun of me, but I loved like just the shape of it, and like how it had like the lip at the end for my pins, and like it flipped up so I could put all my stuff inside of it. Dude, I love that thing.
A wooden
one? Yeah, sturdy wood. I
Sick.
wonder whatever happened to that thing. But yeah, like but everybody made fun of me. They're like, where did you find that? And like to this day, I don't know where it came from, but it just
it's a
ended up being
dinosaur's
mine.
eye.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude.
But like when I went to college, because I did a lot of drafting in college and architecture stuff, and we had like rooms just full of those bloody things.
Yeah.
You go back to the college now, and it's just rooms full of computers. That's it.
I don't like it, man. I'm old school like that, though. I'm just like, man, just give me some paper and pencil. I'll show you.
So 2 years into college, and then what was it? Was it like you were approached by a sponsor? Was it that you were just like, hey, screw it, I'm going to go all in? And what was that?
I was doing some contests a little bit here and there, and then also doing shows. And I had a buddy of mine that was probably, I don't know, he was one of the first show companies I started riding for. And then I remember he was like, well, what if, like you just rode more shows? I'm like, yeah, but I don't know. I don't know what to do. And I'm all over the place. talking to Kuko again, wherever you want to take it, man. Like, you want to go, if you just want to ride the skate park and do that, that's fine. If you want to compete, that's fine too. Like, just be intentional with it though, you know? So I finally made the choice. You do all that work to get accepted into college. I signed one piece of paper. They're like, all right, cool, you're done.
Dang.
I was like, that's it? And they're like, that's it. I was like, all right.
Like, I worked my whole life to be here, and that's that.
That was far too easy to leave.
It was weird, man. Yeah. And it was very, very cold, very static, you know?
Right.
So, I tried to make stuff happen, and it didn't hit right away. And to the point where it was like so much adversity and just figuring stuff out. And the lesson I learned during that point was like God will give you a dream, and then it's going to get tested. You know, how bad do you really want that thing? And thankfully, my intentions and my draw to it wasn't for the vanity of it, wasn't to be famous, wasn't to make money. I could care less about that stuff. It was to become a better person. And that's why I stuck it out. And I met so much of myself in those moments, and to share space on the deck, I just wanted to contribute. Still to this day, I just want to contribute, man. And that's why I love BMX so much. And I've never sought after, you know, the worldly type stuff. You know, it's like Kevin Robinson, like I spent a lot of time with him before he passed, and he always used to say, like, it's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice.
Wow.
You know, and that dude, he lived that, you know, and so
That's a
it's
sentiment right there.
Yeah,
dude.
that's
yeah.
wow.
I love that dude, man. He honestly, he
That
showed
gave me
me so
chills,
much,
dude.
man. He was like, because Kuko used to say, I can only take you so far, man. Yeah, you got to do it yourself. You got to, you know, tap into why, you know, and just really anchor down, man. And then as I made my way through and started competing and all that stuff, and then finally went out to the East Coast, I crossed paths with Kevin, and that was a wrap. You know, him and I just same page. You know, so cool and grateful to be in that same space with him.
That's
so
cool.
So yeah, I think it was, you know, I got slapped in the face pretty quick after I dropped out of college, and just really sat down and, okay, what do I need to do, man? Because this ain't it right now.
Right.
You know, like the dollar menu, that's not it. You
Yeah.
know? But I was young enough to sustain that way, to make it stick. Sacrifice a lot to make it stick, and it worked.
Yeah.
Thankfully. You know?
How long were you in like Milwaukee area before you went east?
That's a great question. I think off the top of my head,
Like, how long were you trying to like stick it out in BMX, doing shows, riding the contest in your hometown before you went east?
So 2021. Let me think. 2021.
So while you're thinking
That was-
about this,
Yeah.
when you say go east, what do you mean? Just like move out there, or?
You went to Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah. I moved to Camp Woodward.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And I heard about it. I'd been past it, and then I finally went for the first time. We were doing shows out there. And that, dude, I used to hear stories and all that stuff. And then you get Dave Mirra's Freestyle BMX.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you're like, yo, this is it, man. And I used to have video game battles with my buddy Rich, you know, and he was like, man, I'll whoop you any day, bro. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, let's go. And so,
Talking about that real quick, I'm just going to interject for a second.
Go
We
for
got Dave Mirra Pro BMX 2 on PlayStation 2 at my house. So
Bro,
before
that's-
you leave, we're gonna
laps on that.
we're gonna have to have a 3-minute session
That'd be
and see
sick.
who can throw down.
see,
dude.
he would always stomp me on the 2 because you can manual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I would stomp him on 1 because you can't.
Okay.
You can't link it together
yeah,
like that.
because the manual's how you rack up the points.
100%.
Combo points, yeah. For
Yep.
sure.
I had this pipe dream of creating a bracket contest through Traction and like
Bro.
doing a cash prize with Dave Mirra 2, the highest score wins.
I'm going to tell Rich.
Dude, let's do
I'll
it.
call
That would
him
be
after
so
this.
fun. Sorry.
No, you're good, man. So yeah, I was there for a number of years, and then I moved out to, so it would have been 2011. So I'm trying to get my numbers right. 2007-8, college, drop out, and then 9, 10,
Okay.
stressing, trying to figure stuff out. Living in the Jeep, whatever it took, you know, to get to that next space. And then finally, dude, it took like almost a year. I was writing, emailing, calling. My buddy Mykel was like, hey man, I can only do so much too. Like, I don't know. But here's the contact. And I was like, bet. And I just went nuts, and I was not going to accept no for an answer.
Yes.
It's zero. I was like, there's zero way I'm just going to like lie down, man. I love this way too much, and I've already gained so much. If if they would have said no, I would have exhausted more options to figure something out, even if I never moved to Woodward. But I'll backtrack real quick and I'll make it short. 2009 Gatorade Free Flow Tour came through Milwaukee as one of the stops. Heard about it. The cutoff was 21. I'm like, sick, let's do it. And I started doing all that stuff. I'm super pumped. This is 2009, right? So all that stuff worked out. I ended up winning the park thing. So through way of that, the roundabout story is that park was great. You make it to Salt Lake Finals.
And that's for Dew Tour, right?
For Dew Tour,
yeah. You qualified in for Dew Tour.
So stoked. In the podium, you had to win to get a spot in the Dew Tour. And then at that point, that's your shoe-in, you know? Because before that, to get recognized, to even get on that 60 open qualifier list is impossible.
Dude, OQ was crazy.
Gnarly. Yeah, because you're doing dirt.
I was
OQ.
doing dirt in 2011 too. So we probably were at Salt Lake the same year.
You guys definitely crossed paths.
Yeah, before we knew each other.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the gauntlets, thankfully dirt is just, you're the only one riding, you know. But on park, dude, it's like a bee's nest, bro, you know?
I remember seeing those videos of people just like crossing paths and like colliding in the air. And
that was the joke, dude. Joey and I would be like, you guys want to go watch park practice? And like, we'd be like, ha, ha, ha. And like, we'd just go watch mayhem.
Dude.
Like dudes bashing into each other. It was crazy. I would be terrified riding park practice.
It was stressful.
Dude, yeah.
Super stressful. But it was cool. And so the way it all came to be, and this is where Vert started, was I was there for park and I was already injured and I was just like, it is what it is, man. So because I was hurt, I brought my full face. And again, remnants of Mira, all this different stuff. I'm watching that growing up, even early Nyquist days when he was riding Vert. And it was like, yo, this is so crazy right now. I'm on the course and Dave's there, everybody's there. And I'm looking at the dudes I'm seeing on TV like, yo, this is crazy, you know? And I ended up taking third. I felt like I won.
Wow.
I was over the moon. I was in like 18th place, right? And then I finally laid my rundown, and I'm just like, cool, don't care what place I take, I'm good. And I'm like taking my pads off and all that stuff, and then they call podium. Still thought I was like 18th. I was like, dude, whatever. I just rode a Dew Tour course. I'm over the moon, bro. This is crazy. Awesome. And then I hear my name, and I'm like, oh, snap. So I'm like trying to put myself together. And so podium that year, I got third, Chad Curley got second, and then Matt Wyatt got first.
Wow.
Crazy,
Wow.
you know? And so later, I met a dude, his name was Gio. He got hurt and, he got a wild card spot. And because I was hurt, I didn't have any expectations. So I'm just like, dude, whatever. Like, you riding Vert? And he was like, yeah. I was like, well, what's up? And he's like, I don't have a full face. And I didn't even care. I was like, if it fits, you can use it. I don't care. And he's just like, are you sure? I was like, yeah, it's fine, man. So the next day, I go down there. This is on Sunday. And can't find him. And I see his buddy Brian. I'm like, what's up? Like, where's he at? And he's like, oh, dude, he got food poisoning. I'm like, oh, no, man. So what, did he leave? He's like, yeah, he's gone. It's like, dang it, dude. So I'm sat next to Catfish. And we're just sitting there hanging out. There's a dude who's also named Zach, yells from the deck, hey, man, you trying to ride Vert? I was like, yeah. What do you, like, practice? He was like, do you want to ride Vert? And Zach's like, you better say yeah. I was like, yeah, I'm down, I'm down. And he's like, cool, you got a wild card spot.
Whoa. What about the helmet? Did he?
No, I had it.
Oh, you had it still.
Yo, you were like bringing it to
Yeah, I
him.
was bringing it for him.
Oh,
yeah.
got you.
So I showed up that morning to
Yeah.
watch and just give him the helmet. And then I ended up winning that contest. Crazy. And that's what gave me my spot in the Dew Tour.
What?
That's
Insane, bro.
crazy.
No way.
Through
That's
Vert.
the craziest. Wow.
That's how Vert
a wild
started.
story.
Yeah.
Dang.
And I was
just
like,
happened to be in the right place at the right time.
I was trying to help homie out. You know?
Dude,
It's
yeah.
like, this is cool. You know, I'm
I
down to come
love
watch.
that so much.
Yeah.
Do you remember what stop that was at? Like what city?
Utah. That was Salt Lake.
Salt Lake.
Same one.
So yeah, park
Same
and then the
one.
next. Yeah. Wow.
Oh, dude, I would have slept in Sunday because I felt like I won. I was like, this is crazy. I just did a run of my life. And I was like, dude, I'll wake up. I got up at 8 and just went down to the arena. I was like, dude, this is dope.
Just
I'm
to
gonna go
bring
watch.
a homie a helmet.
That's it. And
Yeah.
to watch too, because I heard like, I've Scrap Skate Park. I'd seen Koji ride that once. I dropped in on that ramp once, and then once at Lake Owen. It's like a sister camp to Woodward in Wisconsin, and I rode that a few times. You know, I was just like, okay, cool. Didn't think twice about anything. So I'm like, all right. And I remember Koji used to say, he was like, dude, if you can ride this thing like a mini ramp, that's when it gets fun. But you have to go higher than 5 feet. And I was like, well, I don't know how I'm gonna do that. But slowly over time, you know, I just got bigger, and you know, I was like, oh, you're not 13 anymore.
Wow.
So that's all that kind of came to be, man. And then that's when the East Coast thing became super important, because I didn't have vert ramps. I think at the time Scrap had just closed. So then Woodward became a thing. Got the contact from Micah, started hitting them up, and then they finally responded Like, oh, we don't understand. Dude, handwritten letters, typed letters, voicemail, you name it.
Yeah.
Nothing. And it finally hit me back, and it was Steve Haas. And I was like, bro, I'm not even asking anymore. I'm going to move. I'm going to be the dopest employee y'all ever had. I'm going to work for it, man. Just please give me a chance, man. And sure enough, like, I got an email back, and he was like, look, man, if you got that attitude, come on.
Dang.
Dude, there you go.
And
So
that
what
was
were
it.
you doing when you moved there? Like what were you were working there, right?
At camp?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was they labeled them Lost Boys.
Okay.
And so we'd set camp up, ramp maintenance, painting, setting up awnings, you name it. Pretty much like groundskeepers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys were the Lost Boys because you were there year round, right?
Full year round, yeah.
Full year round, yeah.
Yeah. And that was the sweetened deal right there. So they're like, hey, your compensation is going to be lower, but we're going to compensate you with housing also.
Right.
I was like, dude, I'm down. And then I didn't know the housing was actually going to be on camp. So once I found that out, I'm like, bro, done.
Living the true
Done.
dream.
Yeah, I'm living in a video game, you know? And so everything took off from there, man. Yeah, that was like a pretty wild thing.
How long were you out there for?
4 years.
4 years.
Yeah. I was talking to Matt about that. I was like, dude, if this don't hit in 5, I'm going to just go back to school. And then
We'll learn how to do that CAD stuff.
yeah, for real, man. And it was 8 months. And I was like, so I wanted 5 years. If I didn't get like an X Games invite or something like that, cool. Dew Tour was great, but that was still, I didn't have a vert ramp to ride.
Yeah.
And then I had started to meet people like 𝙎𝘾𝘼𝙍𝙀𝘿 and the one time that I was out there, I met 𝙎𝘾𝘼𝙍𝙀𝘿 also, vert rider, dude from the Bronx, and amazing people, you know. So had all those sticks in the fire, and it was just one of those things like, man, I got to figure something out. And that was it. Yeah. Just got that phone call after being there because I just hit the ground running, and I was like pissed off and hungry, like in a good way. And I was just like, I got to figure this out, man. I'm so close. I just don't know what it is. And got there, and it was just like night and day. You can have an idea at like 1 a.m, go up to the building with somebody, turn the lights on, work on it. So that was huge, man. And those guys to this day, some of the best dudes that I've ever met that I lived in that house with. So
I love that, dude. I love the conceptualizing that, like you had that end goal and that you just kept chipping away. Like you didn't know what you needed to do, but you just kept pushing forward to get to like, hey, I want to get there.
mm-hmm.
I don't know how to get there, but I'm going to keep pushing and I'm going to be persistent. And like, I'm going to push through like all the nonsense to get there.
Yeah.
So was it 8 months after you moved to Woodward? That's when you got invited to X Games the first time?
Yeah. And it was the
Wow.
Asian X Games. I remember April Mays called me, and I just I had a burner phone and I just put minutes on it, bro. And I was like, you know, I just like, oh, track phone, that's it, whatever. Like that's all I could afford. And when I finished paying for my flight and my bags, and I had like $87 to my name. And I moved, hit the reset button, left everything I had behind. I had my bike bag and a clothes bag. That was it. And so I moved to Woodward with nothing. And I just remember legit, I didn't need a car because camp's right there.
Yeah.
I would like hitch a ride to the grocery store or whatever. And that was it, bro. Like I just went nuts. And then I became the mosquito, and like Jamie's here, Jamie Bestwick's or Chad's. And I'm like, dude, how do you flare like that, man? He's like, well, it's different because you're goofy footed, but we got to figure that one out. Same with George. Like, George's killing it, man. I'm just like, I'm soaking it in. It's like, man, how? Again, observational learning. And I just put minutes on my phone. There was still snow on the ground, and they were starting to get invites going for Asian X Games. And that was like an unsanctioned pre-qualifier for the U.S. one. And I remember I'm walking back, and I get a phone call. I'm just like, hello. She's like, hey, this is April. I'm with ESPN, this and that, and just I want to extend the invite. And I dropped my phone into like snow, you know? And I was like, oh, snap. And I get it cleaned off. I'm like, oh, are you still there? She's like, yeah.
Like out of surprise, you dropped it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as she said ESPN, I dropped. I'm like, oh, snap.
Like,
That's
I'm
what-
going to throw up.
like, dude, for real. And so she's like, we'd like to extend an invite. And I was like, shut up. And she's like, no, I'm serious. And I was like, oh my goodness. Yes, I'm going to figure it out. My goodness. I'm there. I'll figure it out, you know? And,
Wow.
And that was it, dude.
Wow. What I would be curious about is if we talk to April, like the responses that she's heard when she's reached out to guys like
I
yourself,
bet.
and girls like yourself that have just been like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Hang up.
Unbelievable.
You know, people,
Yeah.
You playing with me?
Yeah, this
you
is
play
a
with
prank
me,
call
buddy.
for sure.
Yeah.
Dude, that's so cool. Wow.
So wild.
Yeah. So how did you do in that first X Games?
I got 4th. And I was
Incredible.
pumped, dude. I was right.
Wow.
And Chad got 3rd. And again, it was like you take 3rd or better, that's more than likely, you know, top 10 invite list. You'll be a part of that. and just coming in swinging, bro. I slammed on a bar spin, laid down whip, and caught coping. Didn't get my feet fully on, and just like body slammed it. And I remember Brumlow came over afterwards, and he was like, "Bro, you're so close. It was it." And he was like, "You just like gave me some pointers." Super kind, you know, and just things like that. That gave me so much like gas in my tank to be on that deck, contribute. That's it. I ain't trying to be the man. I just want to contribute, bro. Like,
I love that that's the mindset too, because I think that some people in the sport of BMX like are trying to take so much from BMX, and like I think, you know, we're all kind of in the headspace of it has nothing to give to us, but we have so much to give to it, you know. Like, and I love that that's the mindset, because like, yeah, I don't know, it's like it has already given so much to all of us. So that's such a cool like way to look. Like, I'm trying to contribute back, and like, how can I add to this? Like, that's such a cool way to look at it,
dude. And I think we're all on the same wavelength with that, you know, which is amazing.
I want to go back to, so you said like after 2 years dropped out of college and all you wanted to do was contribute. Like, how did you have that maturity? How did you have that sense at that age? Because I know 2 years in at college, I mean, much like the majority of us, shithead kids, you know, just didn't have a clue in the world. But how did you have that maturity?
I think just the homelessness. I was living in my Jeep, didn't really talk about it to anybody. And then the few friends that did know, they're like, "Come on, man, like, what are you doing, bro?" But it was me, I guess, sacrificing normal comforts just to experience the heightened perspective on my bike, or challenging myself. And I knew that, you know, if I was still like, I can go back and do lawn care or snow removal with Kuko and stuff like that. And that was always there, which was great. But during those times, it's like, man, like this window's not going to be open long. And I know that's super important. And so even when I had the conversation with my mom about dropping out, she's like, "Well, the books ain't going nowhere." I was like, "True."
Dang.
So that helped influence it a lot. But the maturity aspect was realizing that I don't own all the problems in the world, that my faith is a lot more valuable than I thought before that, you know. And my faith was always there, but it was like, oh, okay, cool. And things aren't as more difficult, but as I experienced a lot more trial and tribulation, bro, that's when the anchors hit. And I'm like, wow, okay, I'm humbled now. And I can understand the value of actually having a meal or taking a shower or using a restroom and things like that, you know. So that breaking of me was almost like breaking the ego that had been built up of like, oh, this is who you are and all this different stuff, and this is the outline, and it crushes that, and there's like a new version of who I am. I'm like, yo, this is dope.
Yeah,
because there's nothing to answer to aside from him, and just having the space of being able to, like, I can play with form all I want, and it's almost like having the ability to do that without the clay drying. It's like, okay, that don't work, flip it up, do this and that, smash it, reform it, whatever you got to do. I just felt very honored and grateful to have that mindset at that age. And, you know, I had a group of guys during that time that were down to stand by my side. And Taylor, who we'll see today, you know, very much so seeing somebody's potential and being like, bro, I see what you're trying to do here. I like that. I think that's dope. How can I help?
No kidding.
Things like that. And you're just like, what? Really? You know, because society will be like, to the theme of this, of what we're talking about, you know? Society sees that and they're like, what are you doing?
Yeah, this goes against everything you're supposed to do. Stop.
Yeah. And you're like, I need to do, it's not a want, I need to.
Yeah. I'm compelled. I have no other, I can't not do this.
Yeah.
Dude, it's cool when you have people that are by your side that are like picking you up, like when you fall down in those moments, because I think that's the hard thing about going out and doing something that you believe in, is when those people are being the naysayers, because they're so built into what society is expectant of them, you know. And when you kind of go against that grain, it's like, it is hard to sometimes like shut that noise out. But when you have those people like Taylor standing there next to you and they're saying, dude, no, keep doing what you're doing. I see the vision.
Yeah.
Hammer down.
Yeah.
Don't stop.
Very humbling, man. And I'm forever grateful for that. I always think of it like this, like Tetris, you know, like you try to have those shapes fit into the certain pockets and all the different stuff. But as soon as that chain link fills up, it disappears, bro.
Yep.
And I just think about that as like society and us being, you know, rogue in a sense. It's like, we're not supposed to fit in, man. Because the second everybody does that, it's all the same. It disappears. It's like there's no individuality.
Oh, shit.
You know?
That's good.
Yeah,
You know
that's some
what I mean?
profound stuff
really
right
good.
there.
So I think that there's an intention that comes behind it. And you mentioned it too at dinner tonight, where everybody is bringing something different to the table, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Perspective, where you're from, your roots, all that stuff, what music you listen to. Like we talk music a lot.
Yeah.
And just we'll show up to the skate park and I'm like, Budos? He's like, yep, down. Or it might be something different,
Yep.
you know? And so that to me I think is cool, because if it was a rack of seasoning, bro, like, oh, you just salt and pepper, that's pretty bland.
Yep.
Everybody's contributing something to the rack, and then we all get to cook a meal with it. Come on.
Oh yeah, dude, I love that.
Jesus, these analogies are blowing me away right now.
That's why I said this man's my favorite.
Yeah, dude. Just
Lots of flavor.
Dude.
so
Appreciate
good,
y'all,
dude.
man. Like-
Dude, likewise. Well, so you go into, the Asia X Games, you do well.
Mm-hmm.
What comes after that? You get qualified into the US stuff, or? Whoa,
Yeah.
that was some loud thunder. I don't know
Yeah.
if you'll be able to hear this
Is it
on the
raining?
podcast. It sounds like it
Supposed
is.
to rain?
I guess so.
I haven't heard that in a minute.
Wow. Yeah.
That
And
was
it
nice.
wasn't calling for rain, but that's Colorado.
Yeah.
That's not, yeah, that's true. So all that stuff goes down. I'm super stoked. Again, I could walk away head held high and just on top of the moon, just like, man, this is so cool. And I don't know where I get a phone call. Hey, we have an alternate position for you for LAX Games. And now this is huge, because there's still Nokia Theater. Everything that I've been watching on TV, they had like such a long residency at LA.
Yep.
I'm like, dude, this is it, It's starting to crack up. And I just remember thinking like, man, I don't even care if it's an alternate spot, bro. I just want to be there.
Yeah.
At least I can get my feet wet and know what to show up to, that the following year when I actually get a spot for real, I know what I'm coming back to, And it's drive for the off season. I'll imagine that as I'm dropping in, I'll see like the logos on the ramps and all that stuff, and I can envision that. So when I show up, I'm not going to freak out. And so I get there. Jimmy Walker, who also owned Scrap Skate Park, and Koji, for Kuko was like Miyagi and Karate Kid for me. Walker was that for Koji. And so it was just so cool, because I'm talking to Jimmy, and Jimmy's like, oh yeah, man, this and that, da 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 da. One of the smoothest vert riders I've ever seen, and just so blasé, like, oh yeah, just chilling, this and that, da 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 da. Drops in and just goes ham. Like, so cool to watch him ride. Comes over to me, and I've been practicing a little bit, but I'm not trying to, steal time from the guys that are actually in. So I'm just like absorbing the moment, and just like, man, the lights and the black paint and all this difference. I'm like, dude, this is sick. Like, they had just painted stuff. So it's like all these different sensory overload things. And Jimmy comes over, and this is like the second day of practice. How you feeling? I was like, I feel great, bro. I'm so pumped. Not stressed at all. I'm just like a fan, just like hanging out. And he's like, all right, cool, man. Well, I broke some ribs, so you're in. Oh. And I started cracking up like, what are you talking about, dude? He's like, I just broke ribs, and I'm about to drive home. I was like, you drove here from Chicago? He was like, yeah. So I started dying laughing. I'm like, so you're just going to drive home? He was like, yep. I already talked to April. It's all good. I'm like, so so I'm in. He's like, you're in. Go get him. And I just started dying laughing. I'm like, what is happening right now? And thankfully I had all my stuff. I'm just like, dude. And then April comes over, and she's like, big smile. She's like, did Jimmy talk to you? I was like, yeah. She's like, so? I was like, of course. She's like, all right, cool. Insane. And I went from being like this calm, cool, collected guy to freaking out,
Yeah, I'll do it.
Dude,
for sure.
Yeah. Because I was like, man, we're finally here. This is a real thing, And, it's just that moment to tie it with a bow was like legit. Ever since I was a kid, seeing that and just, man, I want to do that. I kept telling my mom, like, I'm going to do that one day, She's like, oh, okay, cool. Super supportive. Not like, it's a long shot. Like, just cool. She supported it. And we're finally there.
Yeah.
I was like, man. So I felt like that little dude in an adult's body, like, wow, this is insane right now. And I thought I was like second to last or something like that. Didn't care. I was like, dude, I just rode X Games, man. This is crazy, bro.
I made it.
Yeah, dude, just to be in the lineup, it's just like, okay, cool. And just was super nervous, but of course, it's like I'm riding with giants, dude. Like these guys at that point, it's like I'm watching 900s. Dennis McCoy throwing a 900, bro.
Yeah. Those dudes were, they were larger than life.
Yeah.
Was Hoffman still?
I wish.
Okay.
I wish.
I was
bro.
gonna say, dude, that would have been Hoffman.
Him and Dave on the same deck.
Yeah,
Man, come on, bro.
McCoy.
Yeah, Robinson.
Oh my goodness. Yeah,
Dude.
that would have been
Insane.
Yeah. Wow.
So, and that's what shaped a lot of that, because I would see some of those battles go down, and it was never them trying to do each other's tricks. They were just trying to do their own thing.
Yeah.
And that's what made it fun.
I think that's why looking back on Vert, I think that was vert riding in itself. Like when you would watch a contest, I don't feel like you would ever watch a contest like, oh, that guy was trying to beat that guy. Like you could tell they were all just trying to battle themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that's because the ramp was so gnarly. Like, dude, dropping in on a vert ramp is scary.
Dude,
I mean,
so scary.
for someone like you, it's whatever. But like,
That was for me too growing up.
it's just one of those things where it's like dropping. It's huge, and it's like
It's terrifying.
I don't think you would be able to battle each other than yourself, just because you have to have so much respect for the ramp.
That's
it's
right.
like big wave surfing, right? It's like
Yep.
you have to respect the wave.
Well, and I feel like with like the vert ramp thing too, and I could be wrong, but I feel like most of the dudes that were at that point in the game, they were all like kind of training by themselves. You know,
Yeah.
like you're all kind of by yourself. So like then when you drop in, like you're riding your own wave, as opposed to like the park guys who are like at the same park, like training together or whatever.
Yeah.
Like when you're riding vert, you're like riding those 2 a.m. sessions at Woodward by yourself or whatever it is, you know, like, so everybody out there is kind of just doing their own thing.
Yeah. It's like when the inliner shows up and they're serious about it.
Dude, those
You're
guys
like,
are
yo,
nuts.
you still getting it, man. That's amazing,
Yeah.
bro. Like, I love it. And that to me, I think it shows like commitment, shows they understand what they get out of it,
Mhm.
that they're still willing to do that. And to peel yourself off the flat bottom, you know, like all those moments too, it's just crazy because when it works, it's amazing. When it doesn't work, it sucks, you know, but there's so much that goes into it, you know, and it's amazing. Like I've learned so much over the years about myself, just riding vert, big air, park, all that stuff, you know, but it's just like, it's the most stripped down, bare, raw version. You're just going back and forth. It's the shape of a U. That's it. You know, it's like, okay, make art,
Yep.
you know, and you get to choose how that looks, you know, which is fun.
Well, and if you're listening to this episode and you've never seen a vert ramp, just Google that right now, because you will have your absolute mind blown, because these ramps are monstrosities.
Well, I don't even think a picture will do
Dude,
it justice.
yeah.
Like I've never dropped in on anything.
If you
like
stand
that
at the
before.
flat
It's-
bottom of a vert ramp and you
Yeah.
look up to the top, it's terrifying. It's terrifying. And then you watch somebody like Mykel here go 10, 20 feet out the thing. It's insane.
It's the most fun ever.
Oh, it looks insane. It looks like it's like so like zen when you're just floating through the air. Like that weightlessness that you get on the ramp just is unreal looking.
I
But
agree.
so cool, man. So how did you go from being the vert rider in X Games into like big air? Like,
Okay,
what
so
was the progression of that?
similar story to the free flow thing. So I'm sat there and I showed interest about wanting to do big air, and they're like, we don't know. You know, they got to see some proof behind it, you know. They had just started constructing the mini mega setup at Woodward East, but that's like nowhere close to the real thing. Helps you get your feet wet, but it's not the real thing. They also had a mega ramp airbag. And so the Target program, Kevin ran that. And then him and I started working together. He's like, yeah, the airbag's getting fixed and we'll do this and that. Come ride it, this and that. Like, I'll definitely like set you up so you can actually feel what it could really be like. I'm like, okay, cool. The only one that exists is Bob Burnquist's ramp, which is out in California. So it's like, if you know Bob, or, you know, then you have access. But if not, it's at his house.
Yeah.
Which is insane. So-
Yeah, it's bizarre to think that it's in his backyard.
bro, like his backyard's insane, like one of the dopest setups. But so I showed interest and all that stuff, and so I'll make a long story short, it's legit one of those things where I'm riding vert, super stoked. I think I took 4th that year, and I was right behind McCoy, and he slings this 9 around and landed it so good, and I missed it by a point. I missed podium by a point. I'm like, dude,
Dang.
it was Jamie, Simon, Dennis. I'm like 100%. I got 4th out again. I was on top of the moon. I'm like, this is crazy, bro. Okay, I'm knocking at the door, bro. This is awesome. And even Dennis came over after the fact. He's like, you getting close? You getting close? He was like, you had me, you know, I gotta rip a 9 real quick. So it was so cool just to see like the camaraderie, and then
And you hadn't podiumed in X Games at that point yet, right?
Nope.
Okay.
No, and so it was just crazy. I'm like, man, all right, cool. I go to the vert ceremony that night, and I'm so pumped. And I just remember talking to a buddy. I was like, yo, I'm gonna be up there, man. I'm gonna keep working, bro. I'm gonna get up there. He's like, yeah, for sure, man. Like, I'm about that. That'd be really cool. Man, you got it. Just keep doing your thing. You're a point away. I was like, yeah. I ain't doing no 900s. I'm good on that. But I'm gonna figure something. I'm gonna just keep doing my thing to contribute something different. You know? He's like, yeah, for sure, man. So following the next day, and now this is in Austin, Texas. So they have a residency there for like 3 years or 4 years. And I passed Chad Kagi on the stairwell, and he's going to mega ramp practice. And this year, finally, I also had a alternate spot. So we go back to same for, so it's free flow combo with first X Games combo kind of thing. So I'm like, first alternate, I'm super stoked. I'm like, all right, cool, man. Like, well, what's up, man? What do you got? He's like, you gonna practice today? I'm like, yeah, definitely get some runs in. He's like, all right, cool, I want to film something. I'm like, all right, cool, let me know. And at this point, we're doing like bikes over Baghdad. Like him and I have been kicking it a ton. So I'm like, whatever you need, bro, I got you, man. I'm like, what do they call that in F1 racing? The people that take the wheels off.
I like the pit crew.
There you go. I'm your pit crew. I was like, I got you, bro. Whatever it is. He's like, all right, cool. So we go over there and ends up crashing. Oh, so bad.
Is that the year he crashed on the on the quarter pipe?
Yep.
I was out the flat on. I watched that.
Oh,
that
so you're there?
I remember seeing that.
Bro, I was an alternate on dirt that year.
Savage.
That was the scariest crash I think I've ever seen.
That year for dirt, the dirt was on the hill, right? Over in the grandstands?
No, that year it was
or on the flat bottom.
On the flat bottom behind Big Air.
Gotcha. That was the one that Kevin got.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Sick. Yeah, so you were there for that. You seen how catastrophic that was, bro. And just like rolled the windows up from
like 18 feet or something. Like it was
bro,
huge.
To flat. Like never seen that. And Chad's one of the toughest dudes I've ever met. You know, and so I grab his bag and he gets put in the ambulance and both of his heels are gone. And they have an on-site hospital. And so I'm like pedaling my bike with his bag behind me to like get there, and I can hear him screaming still. And I'm just like, dang it, dude. I don't know how bad this is. I'm just like, okay. I saw how bad it was, but I didn't know internally like what else was going down. And so they hit him with some morphine. So he's finally starting to level out. I'm on the phone with his wife telling her what just happened. She's freaking out. And I'm just like, man. And then I hear Chad, hey, man. Like calm as ever, like nothing happened. I'm like, oh, what's up, bro? And he's just like, I'm all right. This is it's gonna take a minute to come back from. I was like, dude, what's up, man? And so it was just one of those things, just having like a little powwow. And Kelly, his wife's like, all right, bud, well, you got work to do. I'm like, what are you talking about? She was like, yeah, your first alternate. And Chad's like, yeah, your first alternate, dude. I'm like, I ain't going nowhere. I'm gonna go right after I just saw that, bro. Yeah. Like, no. And he's just like, your first alternate, you know? And I was like, nah. I was like, Anthony was second alternate. I was like, Anthony's been here before, bro. Like, he can do it. And they were like, you should go do it. And I was like, so we're going back and forth on the phone in the emergency room. I'm just like, dude, contest is about to start in like 30 minutes. Right? So I'm just like, I don't know. You know what? Let's go for it. Whatever. You know? I was trying to be there for the guy, you know? And so 45 minutes later, you know, contest starts like a touch late, started doing the thing, and then that ended up being my first medal.
No way.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
From that 0 to 60, bro. And I was just
that's savage, dude, to watch something like that. And then like, how did you prepare yourself mentally to like get back up or like to go ride after seeing that? Like, that's insane.
In my head, I was like, oh, that's one of the worst things that could probably happen.
Yeah.
So in my head, I'm like, do not pull on the quarter. You know, it's like, that's a big quarter. So seeing that and just being like channeling everything that I had just been like, dude, all right, let the faith carry you in that moment and just do your thing. Like, you're supposed to be here, you know, first alternate or not. If I was, you know, not even on the list, I still would have been there, you know, still, even if I wasn't competing, I still would have been at the hospital with him, you know? So it's like that type of thing. And he was like, just go give her, man. Like, you got this. Like, you're good. I've seen you, like, practice was going really well. All right. He was like, just keep doing that. You're good. You ain't got to do nothing crazy, bro. It's your first time riding Big Air. Like, you're good, you know? I was like, all right, cool. And just came in and was feeling it. And I guess it was just, not that there was like, I had regard for my health. It's not like I was just going out there winging it, but just being in that space, man, where I was just like, all right, man, I just feel super grateful and blessed that was the result of it. And even if not, just to walk away.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
It's cool too. Like, what a G for him to be like, yo, dude, like, I'm laying here broke off to no end. And he's just walking you through, like, going up there and getting on that ramp and like going.
And his wife on the phone too, telling you to do it too.
Dude, love those guys. Yeah.
That's so cool,
so,
dude.
For the listeners or whatnot who may not be super familiar, so with Big Air, obviously gnarly big rolling, the gap you're hitting is what's the distance?
It's changed over the years. Usually it's like a 9-story rolling ish. And then the gap's changed over the years to like the shorter one I think was like 50. Sometimes it's like 40 something. The optimal gap's like 70. Sometimes they'll shrink it to like 65.
70 feet. And then how tall is the
Goodness.
quarter?
27. And I think that's changed too. I know Matt just did some projects with Danny Way, and I think theirs was 30
Wow.
Yeah.
or something like that. So they added a few feet, and Matt just broke his own record
No way.
a few years ago. Yeah, which is insane. If you ever get a chance.
Is that the DC ramp that
Oh, yeah.
Dude,
Yep.
that was yeah.
So they had like the
Savage,
quarter
dude.
to
The
like
bank
laid
kinda.
back. Yeah.
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 Matt didn't use the wedge. He hit
Of
this
course he
straight
didn't.
up, bro. Like,
Dude, those clips are insane.
mm-hmm. Yeah, if you get a
Insane.
chance, check that
Yeah.
out, dude. Like it's a mammoth of a structure, and again, respect is like the vert ramp.
Yep.
So how you feel about the vert ramp, that's how I felt about Mega.
Oh, I bet.
And I was like, this is insane. I respect this thing so much, until you start getting to that point where it's playful. And you're like, oh, okay, bet. So over the course of like all these years doing that, it's Morgan and Dougie. Those two guys I have so much fun with riding on the ramp, and it's dope because it's like, hey, you guys want to sacrifice a run just to do a higher comp between us? Don't tell nobody. I'm like, all right, sick.
I was just gonna say that was a year that that was Dougie's first year maybe, and he was just dropping in and would go from like the
Like speed
45
jumping.
speed jump the
Oh, in Austin. Yeah.
He would speed jump the gap and would just see how high you go. That was his run.
Well, and there's a few number of
So
people
sick.
who have broken like the 20-foot barrier, right? And you're
Oh, yeah.
one of them.
Yep.
That's sick, dude.
Yeah, grateful, bro. And I think Dougie has it or Morgan, one of them two.
Yeah.
But they've been going back and forth, and then I've been like close.
You're right there.
Yeah, but it's like I don't know if it's like 20. I mean, sometimes it's hard because like when the digital meter was there, it was like wasn't always accurate, and then you'd have to have somebody like zoomed in from the lower roll in to kind of be squared up with the coping on the quarter pipe to see it. But that's the most fun, dude. Dougie, yeah, he would just race her. He was like, I'm gonna sacrifice a trick and a trick just to go high, and he would roast,
Dude,
roast.
insane.
So
I was as I was preparing for this today, I watched a clip of you like 360ing off the rolling in, and like, dude, I was just losing my mind watching that. I was just
Wait, what?
like the drop in
Yeah,
into like the
so
steep.
from the flat top.
Yeah,
flat top.
this guy
and then
360'd in.
bunny hop 360, landed on, and then
Goes into the
Keep
rolling
going.
and then
that-
continues.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no
light
work.
work, and then like 360 downside triple whip or downside triple whip.
on vert.
Yeah, on the vert.
Yeah. Or just
Insane.
just downside
On the
triple.
quarter,
Yeah.
Insane, dude. You
Appreciate it,
touched a
man.
little bit on when you were talking about Chad Kagi about doing bikes over Baghdad. I want to talk about that a little bit.
Sure.
I think that's such a sick program. What is it for the people who don't know?
Bikes Over Baghdad is so many things, man. The main purpose that we started doing that was to lift morale for troops that are overseas. You can go over there for a few weeks and just go base to base. Probably go to several while we're there and just maybe plop in like 2 days here. Ramp builders comprised of Nate Wessel, Ron Kimmler, Ryan Corrigan. All of us help out in some way, shape, or form. Riders have changed over the years, but it's crazy because early trips is like, all right, cool, it's probably the last one. They ain't happening again. Or it gets too dangerous or whatever it might be. And we did, I think it was almost like 15 tours.
Wow.
Something crazy like that.
How long will your tours be? Like a month long, 2 months long? Like,
Not like less than that, like 2 weeks, maybe
Oh, okay.
maybe a little bit extra.
wow.
So yeah, we'd go over there, and some of the spots are like super gnarly. It's like maybe gunfire, maybe there's bombs and stuff like that. So it's like some of it was a little bit hairy. You're like, dang, this is heavy right now.
This is real.
Yeah, super heavy. But everybody, again, like we can't do what we do if it's not for those people doing what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And it dispels everything that you'll see on the news. It'll dispel everything that you hear the chatter and you're like, I don't know about that. And something feels off. Like I think instinctually something's off, when you're watching the news like that. And we finally got the chance, and I'm speaking for myself, I know other guys would agree for their own experience as well. You see it firsthand, you're like, bro, that is nowhere close to what actually happened. And you see it twisted and, repackaged on the news. You're like, bro, this is, no.
It's kind of sickening when you see it that way, I'm sure, like being able to see it firsthand like that.
Yeah.
Dude.
It's crazy, man. So every trip, amazing stuff happened on those trips. We were just like, wow, that's insane. The impact and just seeing the guys just receive it so well. And you're watching like some gnarly dudes, like Navy SEAL types, just become a teenager again.
Yeah, just be kids again, getting to watch something like that.
Yeah,
like
it's cool.
that's so
It's cool how a device can bring that level ground. And
Yeah.
I mean, not that they're whatever, they're relatable, but still it can bring that joy and that fun factor to where they drop their
guard.
their guard and accept that, and you guys can have that cool little bonding moment. It's cool that a bike or any sort of object can kind of do that,
especially in like an environment like that where like you're talking about hearing gunfire, and I'm sure when there's bombs going off you can hear or feel the ground shake, like and then you guys are having a session just getting people stoked. Like, that's what a treat, man.
Yeah,
that's really cool that you guys got to do that.
Yeah, literally probably one of the most rewarding things. It's like all the medals and accolades and all that stuff, like grateful to have done that, but that is very linear when it comes to something that is so grand as giving back.
Yeah.
It's like if when my time comes, because everybody's time's going to come, when my time comes, if the first thing was BMX, then I messed up. If somebody were to speak on my name, it's just like, no, me as a person, like I would rather, like BMX is a vehicle, grateful for it, but I can't do it forever. I'd be a geriatric at a skate park. Like, I'm too old, man. I ain't sure, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't want to be 50 and dropping in at X Games trying to like,
hold on to something.
Yeah. And like, say somebody like to drive that Bestwick has, insane.
Yeah.
I'm sure if Dave, because Dave was supposed to come back when all that went down in his life, he was planning on coming back. The ramp was set up. He's training. There was a ton of stuff happening. There was going to be a resurgence, and everybody was going to be like, what? Like, this is crazy. And I swear he would have taken it just as serious, if not more, than he used to
100%.
To like deliver and just provide, because he was a force to be reckoned with, And so the fact that Jamie was still doing it all those years before everything went down in the world, and he would show up and he'd be fierce, and still contribute in that way. And it's like, wow, So I just know that contributing something like that, your impact is more important than, like the paycheck you would ever get, So it's just like, okay, cool. Like, what does this mean? Like, why are we here? And the more that we solidified that through conversation, through having meals together, being in a bunker when bombs are going off, or there was multiple times where, and it's funny now because obviously everybody made it safe, but Ron and Nate, they'd be building something, and all of a sudden there's like a code that comes over the intercom about like a mortar attack or something like that, and they're scrambling like, where do we go? What's that? Oh. And it's like, you just in the moment you just don't know, because you're just briefed on that when you get there, and you're like, what does code this mean? Like, I don't, dang it. And all of a sudden you hear, or just watch observational learning, just get on the ground. You're like, oh, that's what we're doing now. Dang it,
dude.
Or middle of chow hall, everybody's whoosh under the table, because it's like, it's not a secure building or whatever. And sometimes you're sleeping in a tent, sometimes legit sleeping in a palace. Like, you have no idea.
So like, how were you guys having to move through that stuff? Were you like in helicopters? Are you in like Humvees? Like a little bit of both? Like armored transports, I'm sure. Like
yeah, so flak vests most times traveling no matter what. Sometimes Blackhawks, Chinooks, C-130s, C-17, MRAPs, Hummers. Like, just depends. Some bases are closer, so you could just hop in an MRAP or C-130, quick up down. Chill. Sometimes you have to leave at night, so you're not as easily spotted. So it just depends. But again, like I'll never be able to put into full words like what those trips meant.
Dude, what an experience. Yeah. This is a little bit of a selfish ask, but I remember seeing on one of those trips way back in the day when I was young, that you guys at some point went to like one of Saddam's palaces. Did you get to go to one of those? How was that?
That was my second trip.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
Dude. That guy was a savage and was doing some pretty wild stuff. And it's just insane to see the amount of vanity behind somebody that would be so powerful, air quotes. I think it was some upwards of like 80 plus palaces.
Wow.
And some of the bigger ones, like we stayed in JVB. That was a palace that he built for one of his like daughter's weddings guests. Just a palace for guests. That's it. Walk in there, it's like, marble pillars, all this crazy stuff, like gold sink, toilet, that type of thing, And Flintstone was another one that he built. It was like to mimic the cartoon. There was a palace that never got completed. It's called Victory Over America. So certain things like that they was doing pretty hellish things. And to see the boots on the ground, handling business day in and day out, made me respect it so much more just because you finally see it. And to see the scale of like, dude, this is like a 40-foot ceiling and this dude's name's written in every language you can think of. Like the vanity of it.
Dude,
it's
like so crazy. It's also crazy. Like I can't imagine the feeling of walking into a building like that and knowing that he may have passed through those doors at some point in time. Like that's like, there's weight to that kind of stuff. Like when I go into any sort of building of historical meaning or whatever, and like thinking that somebody of whatever, good or bad, has passed through those doors. There's a lot of weight to that.
Yeah.
Mix of energies for sure.
Dude, it's crazy. So like standing in a place like that has like really shaped the world that we kind of live in right now. You know, like I can't imagine what kind of weight was associated with that.
Yeah, a lot of weight. It's kind of ominous in certain aspects and then liberating in others, you know? But then on the flip side of this, I'll share this real quick, is we finally had opportunities as we started doing more of those trips that they would give us the leverage of going into town. And it's crazy just with the amount of experience I thought I had traveling. And then you start moving different in different countries where there's different cultures and rules and acceptance. Like they'll allow certain things, they will not allow other things. And to be respectful of that, my world vision opened up and totally got redefined. And that was dope.
That's amazing.
To respect that culture. And it's like, okay, cool. Like went to a place called the Souks. And that was probably like one of the biggest, like, wow, that's actually there. It's like preserved area, burlap sacks with spices in it, and narrow pathways, polished stone. Like it's just, I was like, so cool. You know,
feel like you're living in a different time of life.
Yeah, 100%. You know, and people like woodworking, like, and it's like built by their hands, sweat of their brow type thing. And it just really threw me for a loop. So I'm like, man, I'm trying to eat here.
Yeah,
I want that braised lamb. You know, I want to do this or that, or like, I wish I could buy those spices and get them back through customs, you know, things like that, you know, but
just like immersing yourself in that true culture. And I think like, you know, when we first started talking about the bikes over Baghdad thing, you say, you know, the things you see on the news. And I think it's difficult for people to understand that like hanging in the balance of all of that is exactly what you're talking about right now.
Yeah.
You know, that there's real people doing real things that they're really excited and passionate about in the midst of war.
Yeah. There's somebody that owns a coffee shop in Qatar that's so stoked to wake up in the morning and just make coffee for people. And they're the first person that person sees when they leave their house going to work.
Yep.
And every morning they're on.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, we all bleed the same blood, bro. And it's not like some Miss America pageant type answer. You know, it's like, that's a legit thing that I've experienced. And one of the biggest things I'm reminded of is when we all eat together. Kuwait's like one of the big hubs. And when everybody's in the chow hall, you're seeing France, Germany, Australia, you name it. Like everybody under the same roof, eating the same food. Like one of the most sobering things I've ever experienced in my life. And everybody's at just random tables mixed in however they are. Wow. You know, that was like the dopest thing ever. So
that's so crazy, dude. Yeah, I know. I'm like, whoa. So like, it's crazy that BMX did that, you know, like that you got to go there because of a little kid's bike. Like, as you know, think back to like 13-year-old you. Did you ever think that was going to be something you'd get to experience?
No.
Like, that's crazy, dude. Like just hearing that, like seeing like the passion that's coming out of you when you talk about it, it's like, dude, it's cool.
I'm so honored and grateful and just blessed, man, to have gotten the things I've gotten to do. Like, and I don't know, man. Like, there's times it'll literally make me tear up, just being like, dang, I got to do that, bro.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane.
Life is cool.
Yeah.
Is that, out of all of your experiences with BMX, is that some of your favorite, or do you have stuff that's like, I mean, I'm sure it's hard to like pick and choose a favorite moment, but like, is that some of your favorite moments?
Yeah, I mean, those are dope, you know. And then just, I mean, over the years too, it's like, again, like, why are you doing what you're doing? We would do like high school tours where it was like suicide prevention. In the early beginnings, it was like, oh, like, don't do drugs, you know. And then that became a thing of like, okay, now there's actually like a lot of suicides happening. We got to talk about this. And so we'd show up to school, and you see it. You know, especially we were talking about social media earlier. It's like now more than ever, we need to have thicker conversations that some people just don't want to have. And we're doing that through BMX at a school show. And again, it's like alternative lifestyle. Like, we chase all these things, we have adversity, but let's have this conversation. And it's not easy, but it's something worth having, and to give them resources. And I don't know, man. It's very humbling. So some of the more exciting things has been, you know, serving others in BMX. through all these years.
That's so cool. I love that you're able to like take it from just being BMX focused too to like a more broad scale thing, like talk about going to high schools and like doing some of like the motivational speaking stuff that you've been able to do. And like you've become so comfortable with being uncomfortable that being able to translate that to a kid who's lost, because the world is very confusing and it's difficult, and we all know that. And like I can't imagine being a high schooler right now or a middle schooler.
So much different.
Dude, it's so different. It's hectic, dude. And like we thought it was bad when we were young, but think about what kids have to deal with now, like the amount of pressure. So somebody like you who's experienced so much adversity and like pushed through when most people would have backed away, I think it's so cool that you can take all those experiences and like bring it to a kid like that. That's sick.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, dude. Is that something that you've like the speaking, like public speaking and stuff like that, is that something that you've always felt like in tune to, or is that something that you've had to develop over the years?
I think I felt in tune to it, but I think it's this process. Like I'm verbally processing, and maybe that's the way of music too. Processing, like, oh, that sounds good. Oh, nope, that don't work. I'm off beat. I got to figure this out, this and that. But talking through stuff, being able to communicate with myself in my mind well enough to articulate what I want to say. And then for, doing the public speaking thing, Kevin Robinson and I started working with him doing them, and he amazing speaker, All
right, I've actually listened to a couple of his I remember when I saw something, maybe it was on Vital or something back in the day, but when he was venturing into that, I was like, I should tune into that.
Yeah.
They were incredible, dude.
Dude, so much insight, and so he paved a huge path, and being able to work with him and then share that space was like, I don't know, just a giant of a human being when it came to his why. He knew why he was doing what he was doing. And as me being young at the time, like first time I met Kevin, I'll keep this short. First time I met him was at a Boom Boom Hike Jam, and we were doing a pre-show.
I haven't heard that term,
minute, right?
term in a while. Yeah.
Yeah, so Tony Hawk's doing this Boom Boom Hike Jam. We're all stoked, and we got the opportunity to do a pre-show outside. And so Micah had his stunt team, and they're like, yeah, Division's doing a show. I was like, oh, okay, sick. I'd love to do that. And if there's a way, it'd be dope to go to the show too, because I've never seen freestyle motocross. So I'm like, I'm down for that, bro. That'd be sick. It was at the old Bradley Center in Milwaukee. So pumped. So we're in the middle of doing the show, and one of the enders was me doing a flip over Tim Noel, who's a flatlander. And if you ever get a chance, Tim,
he's sick, dude.
Yeah.
Oh,
dude,
yeah.
So creative. Like,
yeah, for anybody listening, look that dude up, because, dude,
Tim
insane.
Noel. Yeah, amazing. So, traveled a ton with him over the years leading up into that, and that was always like a super fun thing. And so we finished the show, and all of a sudden I look over, and Kevin's in the window watching the show in the arena before their show.
No way.
And he's like slapping the glass, like, yeah, just super pumped. I'm like, dude, that's Kevin Robinson. And they're like, yeah, it's freaking Kevin. So he's like giving us dap, through the window, and we're just like, what is happening right now, bro? And then we find out, oh yeah, we got tickets for you guys. We're like, what? So we're just in the stands, and then didn't realize that they also had autograph session too. So I'm like, dude, this is insane. And that was the first time I met Chad, Kevin, Tony, all those guys. And I'm like, dude, this is crazy. So then fast forward, Woodward days, all that stuff, moving to the East Coast, and then we're working together. I'm like, dude, I can't believe, like, again, they tell me God ain't real, bro. Like, I'm still here, all the injuries and everything else, and to have worked with people that I admire, and just to contribute in that space, it's like, dude, come on.
That's incredible, dude.
Insane.
Just all the connections and everything. That's so sick, dude.
Yeah, I could never have written that.
That's unreal. Talking about like the motivational speaking stuff, like, do you have a favorite venue or audience that you've spoken to so far?
I think the most stressful was NASA.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
That was nuts.
Hold on. I didn't even know you did.
They're like, this guy is going to space on a mega ramp quarter pipe. We need him to come speak
went
to
to
us.
the moon already, so we're going to use him.
That was crazy. That was through Kevin. And he was like, hey, I got this gig, man. I think you'd like it. I was like, dude. Oh, okay, cool. Wasn't sure what it was. And then sure enough, he like sends me the itinerary. I'm like, bro, I think you should do this, man. This ain't. He's like, no, I've gotten the chance to before. I think you're up. I'm like,
whoa.
Wow,
come
share
on, dude.
that. That's a beautiful thing too.
Yeah.
A mentor,
like, you
dude.
trust me that much, man? He was just like, this is you. I'm like, oh my goodness, bro. All right. Give me some tips, man, because I'm nervous, bro. And he's just like, you got it. Just very, like my brother, very blunt, like, just do your thing. Like, you're good. You're supposed to be there. I was like, wow.
That probably pushed you in a way, like same thing with your brother. Like, oh no, you got it. It's like, that's the fight or flight. Like, you knew you were there for a reason. and without having the guidelines or the ball being forced into that court, it's like you took over and what was needed to be said was said, or your action was taken care of.
Insane.
And you would never be put into that or know how to like be in that situation without being in that situation. Like you'd never know how to talk to NASA unless you were there being forced, like, no, you got it, bro. Handle it. Go talk to him.
Straight up.
Like
That's
you
so
learn those
sick.
you learn those skills because you're being pushed into them. That's a cool thing.
Grateful for it.
Yeah.
Dude,
That was insane.
NASA.
So
How many people were you talking to? Like, set the scene.
it was it's a team of astronauts that were, I forget
It's
what.
the astronauts.
Yeah.
It just gets better.
And dude, and it was just like, man, it was myself, Wendy Peterson, and Anthony Hopkins. And we're sat there, and it's just legit one of those things where I'm just like, bro, I don't even know what's going on. I'm talking about BMX, and these guys are about to go on a mission, right? And so I got more questions. I'm trying to, like, I'm there to speak, but I got questions. You know, I'm the fan of what they're doing. I'm like, oh, that's crazy. I'm so intrigued. You know, like, oh, what about this and how long? And like, what about the pressure of this and what? I want to know how.
Yeah.
This. Like, we were talking about the CNC machine.
Yep.
In the shop, I'm like, I need to see the workshop, bro. Like, what?
How does this
how do you
go
make
down?
this stuff? You know, yeah. So, so legit, it's a conversation just like we're having.
Dude.
You know, and it was so pure, chill, honest, did like open Q&A and all that stuff. And it's like the common thing, like, oh, what about injuries and this and that and da-da-da. And it became this like yo-yo, you know, just like back and forth. And we're just kind of spitballing.
Wow.
And the structure was there, foundation, great, talking about persistence, drive, dedication, ambition, persistence, all these different core values that give us a chance to do what we do. Obviously, they believe in that because they're where they're at, you know, and driving that point home is like, you guys are supposed to be here, just like Kevin did for me. You know, I was like, wow, this is cool. And it went way better than I thought because I was so nervous.
That's incredible, dude.
So
it kind of,
yeah.
me and Matt were actually kind of talking about something like this the other day. It's like, you know, you're saying like, oh, I'm sitting here talking to the astronauts. I want to ask you questions. And like, they're respecting you like you're respecting them. And it's like one of those situations where it's like, it's all relative because you guys have like curated your craft and you're so passionate about it. And so like, there's this mutual respect there that you guys are both like, what you have to say to them, you're like, I'm just a BMX rider. You guys are going to space. Like,
right.
But what you have to say adds so much value to what they're like, solidifies what their mission is going to be. Like they took away so much from that. I think it's so cool that it is all relative at the end of the day, you know, like that's pretty sweet.
Yeah. Different vehicle, same passion lane.
100%.
You know what I mean? And that's like kind of touched on what we were talking about at dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like all of us, like we're contributing something and it's just, I don't know, it trips me out. So that's probably like the gnarliest anytime I think of like how nervous I was and how well it went and just the scale of it.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
That's
humbling. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. You're a pretty humble guy, so this one might be hard to answer. But after one of these like motivational speaking seminars, what is like something that somebody's come up to you and said afterwards that's like stuck with you the most? Like most impactful thing that somebody said to you, like that's stayed with you?
Oh man. Sometimes you don't ever know where you're going until you get there.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
I'm writing that one down.
That's like, yeah.
That's going on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
It's true though.
Just as blunt as that, dude. That was it.
That's a pretty profound thing when you sit back and really think about that though. Dude.
Well, that's hard too. I feel like with most people, they try to control their direction, right? It's like they don't let the snowball go. It's like they're trying to like direct the path that it's going into. It's like sometimes you don't know where you're going. You just got to roll with it. That's sick.
But having that confidence in what you believe to let it do that is a trick in of its own, right? It's like, yeah, just being able, just having the faith in what you're doing, that it is heading, whichever direction it's heading, it is the right direction, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
It's crazy.
Well, before we get into like wrapping this thing up, I want to kind of jump back to BMX and ask you what your favorite event is that you've been to so far.
Oh man. There's so many. I think on the light side of it, we always do an annual jam at my local skate park. And I think the first 15 we were like super stoked and at every single one of those. And I moved away, still try to come in for those. And over the years, it's like, okay, now we're at the big ones. And those benchmarks are crazy because everybody, all those names that I was mentioning in the beginning, everybody comes out, and it's crazy because there's like imagine the conversation, the depth of conversation that we've had here happening at the skate park with everybody that we've talked about. And it's like you'll see Koji and Frimus chopping it up, and then you're seeing these people and those people and this and that. And I see my brother and Rich, and then like my mom's hanging out, and she's, hey, I'm gonna use your bike. I'm like, all right, cool. And then she'll go ride, and then there's so many different moving pieces, bro. And it's like the coolest thing. Imagine they do one of those like Fast and Furious meetups, and it's all cars.
Oh yeah,
but it's bikes,
dude. That's sick.
Like it's just a mob of people.
That is the essence of community right there.
100%,
dude. I love that. Like it gives me chills.
Yeah,
like that is the sickest thing to hear, dude.
I love it.
It's cool that's like resonates with you as one of your favorite things too.
Dude, that is it. Yeah, and it's like I was talking to Matt about that. 25 years next year,
dude,
which is so sick.
That's
and I
crazy.
can't believe it's there. Like that part changed my life. And it's the same thing as like all we get into, if it was photography, BMX, photography as well, coffee.
Yep.
It's just like in BMX, it's like one of those things where like coffee and even just coffee and BMX, those two things being synonymous. And it's
dude,
just like,
it's crazy.
So when you wake up, we were talking about this earlier when you were showing me around the shop, if you're waking up and you got a bigger batch to do, you could wake up at 3 a.m. and come start working.
Yeah.
Which is dope.
Yeah.
And obviously coffee smells great.
Yeah.
And you got the music going.
Gets you going. Like, you're just having fun,
bro,
dude.
Like it's that.
Yeah.
It's that.
It's all, I mean, it goes back to, like we said earlier, like all these podcast episodes seem to come back to like just have fun with it.
That's it.
And I think there's a lot of beauty and a lot to be learned from those few little words. Like, that's pretty cool. Another BMX question for you.
Sure.
So you're out here to film and you're also a gnarly contest rider. Do you have a preference between the two, or is it kind of just like whatever you're feeling at the moment? Like, I feel like since you are so well versed in all these different types of riding, it's kind of just however you feel that day. So
yeah,
what is it for you?
I think it just change the station.
Yeah,
that's it. Simple. I can. OB's delivered a lot of that for us. Mm-hmm. So when Matt moved to OB, there's days where you can get down if you're trying to get down, but sometimes you could just carve a couple bow corners and be cool.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much, man. Just being on your bike, and to ramp it up and actually have, all right, your contest mode. I enjoy those moments too. Cause again, there's another version of myself in that's waiting to be found, but, to be out here, stoked, like pumped to film with Matt this week and to have it be something that we can contribute, just like this conversation, for people as a reminder, like, hey, like this is important. This is why we do what we do, as a template maybe for kids that might not know yet, or they're just getting into it and there's like a pretty blank slate. It's like, dude, this is what it can be. Same,
for sure.
Same guidance I had with like Kuko or Kevin, or even at the young age, like my mom, it's being like, hey, like go do that. That's awesome. So yeah, I don't know if I could ever prefer one over the other. I think they both serve me well, in different ways.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
I also think it's really cool that you ride for Mongoose and that you have the style that you have, because like thinking back to like Stephen McCann, who was like a Mongoose dude who like rode all these different genres, or like a mountain bike dude or trials guy, Chris Ackrig, who was kind of the same way. Like, I think it's cool that like Mongoose as a company has like kind of like picked those kind of riders to ride for them. I think that's such a cool thing. So I'm excited to see how this project comes together. Do you guys have like a timeline for when you think it's going to come out?
I mean, this year for sure. Like,
sweet.
End of the year.
Cool.
Yeah. So it'll be dope, and just, I don't know. I mean, it's guys like, you mentioned Stevie, Fuzzy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like OG. And, we got the chance to kick it with him when we did that Nirvana project a while back. And again, the stories, like the library of information and experiences that dude has. It's insane. So it's things like that where you're like, man, okay, BMX, like if it's on the macro, it's like, okay, it hasn't really been around that long. But if you go micro, and there's all these different situations with people that have, you remember this and that, and da-da-da. Like Dennis McCoy is good for that. Like, I don't know how he remembers such detail about such specific things. And, it was this and that was happening, da-da-da-da. And you remember you ordered this and that. Like,
he has the craziest memory I've ever encountered.
Insane.
That's bizarre.
Encyclopedia. Like,
yeah.
It's impressive, man. So between him or people like Fuzzy or the list goes on, but I just really appreciate that there are such micro moments just like this that we can, just sit down and have a great conversation and it be just raw and authentic and just stripped down that people could actually gain something from it. And it's like fruit, you know? So,
dude. This conversation has been so freaking good. As we start wrapping it up, one of the last questions that I've got for you is, what do you think one of your biggest failures to date is?
That's a good question. I think it was never like competitions. Maybe it was like on a more macro scale of like, most oftentimes I'll go for it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in the moments where I've gotten injured, it's always been like, no, I have to do it now. And maybe that's ego being like, I don't know when I'm gonna get this chance again, like Eminem Mom Spaghetti type thing.
Yep.
And say like the instances that's worked for me. It's like, okay, like God's looking down like, I had your back on that one, you know, like defer to me next time kind of thing. But I look at the bigger scale of it and I'm just like, man, like, yeah, just, you got another day, man. Like the bigger scale is like, again, if the first thing that somebody would mention at my funeral is like, oh, BMX, it's like, I hope not.
Yeah.
I hope not.
I love that you have that purview too, that you are bigger than BMX. Because I think a lot of people, whether it's somebody who rides BMX or somebody who's in business or somebody who is a musician or whatever, they identify as that. And it's hard to realize that as people, we are bigger than what we do every day.
That's
100%. It's really hard to realize that. So I love that you have that purview and like that you can disassociate like you as a BMX rider to like you as a person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who am I outside of, if this was stripped away from me, who would I be?
Bro, that's it.
And that's like, there's a lot of beauty in that.
Right. It's a part of you.
Mm-hmm.
It is not the entirety.
Yeah.
You know? And so, yeah, I guess it would just be like maybe the failure thing, like to pinpoint it, maybe it's just like, it was perspective, maybe a lack of perspective. And then as I got smacked in the face, I was like, oh, okay. And that was the perspective. You know, I was like, God shaking you up a little bit like, hey, man, you don't know the answers, and that's okay. You ain't supposed to.
Yep.
It's something called faith. So chill, lay in the cut. We're going to do this, you know?
Just pump the brakes a little bit.
Yeah.
Dude, amazing. And then, you know, as we're kind of rounding this thing out, and reflecting on like basically from where you stand now all the way back to your childhood, what do you think, you know, one of your biggest or some of the biggest sacrifices have been to like obtain the lifestyle that you live today? Like we touched a little bit on like living in the Jeep. That may be the biggest one. Like, what do you think that was?
Yeah. I think even if we zoom out even more, I think it's just, again, the purpose of what we're talking about, normal comforts that most people seem as necessary being irrelevant. You know, it's like, I don't need, like, I just bought a TV for the first time, like last year or 2 years ago. I forget what it was. First time ever. And I'm just like, all right, cool. I've never had cable. And I'm just, I don't, that doesn't do anything for me. And it's just like, okay, cool. I get it. Like, it's one of those things where, anything wrong with it. But for me, I was gone too much. I was always out. I was always plotting and scheming. Like, I gotta get to the skate park. You know, I gotta do something. So yeah, I think it's that, dude. It's like just sacrificing normal comforts of what society deems as baseline for being able to tap into your gift. Because you doing that, when I come to the table, like I'm responsible for tapping into my gifts, whatever it is. You know, even if it wasn't BMX, if it was music, I should have been playing music this morning to meet myself in that space. That when I come here, I'm like, I'm good, you know. Or whatever, and that can go way deeper. But so I think that's it. Just normal comforts of society. It's like, man, okay, I don't need the car and to have that style of, package with a paycheck and this and that and other things. I'm just like, all right, cool. That stuff's nice. Okay, cool. But like, what happens if God packaged your gifts at the beginning of everything before all the stuff that we've talked about, saying, Mykel, I'm going to give you this, but you're going to have to sleep in your Jeep, go through this, have this injury, have that injury. This is going to happen. No money, this and that, da-da-da-da-da. As a young kid, you'd probably be like, hey, I think I'm good. I'm straight on that, man.
I don't know if I want that gift. Yeah.
No.
Dude, that's a pretty profound way to look at that too, is like, if you knew all the hurdles that you had to jump to get to that, would you do it?
Dude, I probably would have stayed in school.
Yeah.
I was too young to know different. Like,
the safe
to know any
route,
better.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
I would have been in
never really
Chicago
thought about it
somewhere.
like
You know what I'm
that.
saying? Like working at some firm.
Yeah.
You know.
Dude.
So it's just jump in, man. Like whatever. To anybody listening, like jump in, dude. Like this you got. It seems like a long time, especially when we're like, you know, 4th hour in high school. You're like, man, I can't wait for 8th period to come, and the clock's second hand's barely moving. And then the next thing you know it, you're an adult, and then life just keeps moving faster the older you get. But whatever it would be, man, I swear, like all of us are here for a reason, and all of us have different gifts that we're able to contribute to that meal. If it's the seasoning rack analogy, like we talked about, and do your thing, people. Like,
Oh yeah.
it's important, man, because again, when that clock, when he calls you home, bro, like that's it, you know. And then I'm cool with that. I'm okay with that, you know. It's just, it's too much of a special thing, and I'll just get pumped, man. This conversation's been super,
Dude, it's
super
been
fun.
amazing. I mean, I was just gonna ask you if you had any final parting motivating words, but I think
Same way,
that
like,
was
bro,
it,
yeah,
dude.
that was it, yeah.
That was amazing. Do you guys have anything else?
I don't think so.
No, I'm excited. This might be the first one that I listen to.
Dude, this
Oh, I take that back. I listened to Matt's.
this
But yeah.
this was all time, dude.
Yeah.
That was.
I can't
Appreciate
thank you
y'all.
enough for being here and sharing a couple hours with us and your beautiful story. This was freaking cool. I'm getting the chills again thinking about how cool this episode's going to be, and I'm excited for anybody that's listening to it to this point,
Dude.
to see what they get out of it, man. So,
Thank you guys for having me, man. I'm pumped.
Heck yeah. This is going to be a fun one. Well, we'll wrap this up, let you guys get on the road, head up the mountain so you can start filming. And with that, thank you guys for listening. Keep being scared or normal. We'll catch you on the next one.
Tight.